Boom. Sup, everybody? This is Carrick with ACG, and I'm here with Abzi for podcast 467 of the Best Gaming Podcast. We're going to be talking about all the news this week. You know, almost nothing happened, so we were thinking about just not doing it. But
yeah, it's such a boring week, dude. Like,
yeah, we'll have to figure out something to talk about.
Very slow, man.
We'll probably forego a little bit of what we've been playing until the middle of the podcast, so we can cover this for the people who just want to jump in and listen to the thought process of what's been going on this week. We're going to try to keep it civil in chat. You know, I know you guys are going to be heated about different stuff that happens. Some people thinking one thing, some people thinking another. Always realize that our opinions are based on experience. I'm not going to referee it, and I'll say shit that'll probably piss you off. But this is sort of the way it's been for the last couple months. And I don't remember the last number of people who've been laid off, but there was some insane amount, man. Like,
There's a lot.
Yeah, it's been a rough go for gamers. So, and game makers. It's been just really a pretty terrible overall time, man. It feels like every time I wake up, there's some new thing. And we thought the worst news would be Sony. Right? Wouldn't you? I mean, that's what I thought. I thought the Helldivers
I thought the worst news was going to be
news.
Tarkov, man. Fuck the Sony thing, dude. I thought it was the $250 thing. I thought that was going to be talked about for a long time, and then Sony came in, took the limelight, and then fucking Microsoft came in and took the line, dude.
And Nintendo does nothing. I mean, there was the little financial thing about like that Switch 2's coming, but Nintendo's like laid back. I do want to say,
chilling, man.
Anybody who becomes a YouTube member, you get access to Discord. I really appreciate it, especially as YouTube has completely now borked the algorithm in March. It's affected the channel. So if you become a member, you get to jump in with us, talk, stream games. We have discrete channels for people to talk about all different kinds of stuff. It's a safe place to sit down and talk about games. That'll be the pimp for today. I do appreciate you guys joining, though. We've had a lot of new people coming in, and I love having old people there or aged accounts, because you talk to people that you know what they're thinking, you know what they think about games, you sort of know the jokes and what they're going to say, and it's all fun. And then you get new people in who have a completely different idea of things, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I actually mean that in a good way, where it's really enjoyable to sort of hear newcomers coming in. That sometimes breathe a little bit of fresh air into something. Somebody brought up Kingdom Come 2 coming out, and then there were a bunch of people who had been in the chat for years and didn't remember that they hadn't played Kingdom Come 1, so they jumped into So there was like a bunch of people jumping into a game that I don't think they would have if somebody new hadn't popped in and been like, hey, here's a title. We'll get to super chats in a little bit. Lord Drifter, Sweet Willie, Tropic Tom, thank you all for coming in. What's up, Kig? Paris, I appreciate it. And somebody had said this was the first time finding us live, so hope you enjoy it. If you do, leave a like at the end. Last thing, also, please, at the very end of the podcast when we close it up, if you can leave a comment, that would help, because we're trying to really see like exactly how YouTube handles the algorithm. So moving on from there, let's discuss Helldivers first, because Helldivers is the one, right? Okay. Helldivers is like the one to get out of the way that was big. So
yes, sir.
Man, it was weird because Sony arbitrarily decides they're going to add this weird restriction. That restriction indicates that that everybody had to merge their PSN accounts, and then. I don't know if you saw this, but there were people showing the list of nations with no PSN service at all.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And it's a lot. And there's a good number definitely a good number on Xbox's side, and there's a good number on Nintendo's side. But I was just, somebody said you can open up comments during the podcast and comment during the podcast. I would absolutely love if everybody did that. But so the list was huge. Sony says, we're doing this. The Helldivers devs come out and say, we're trying to figure out what's going on, and we're going to keep you guys updated. And within, 2 days, they had above 40,000. I think they had 80,000 negative Steam reviews.
200.
I mean, was it 200?
I think, it was over 200,000.
So they have all these negative Steam reviews, and it goes back and forth, and there was a lot of just... I think there was shock and awe. Weirdly enough, Sony's talked about shock and awe before, but I think for a lot of people there was shock because they were trying to figure out how it's possible that the main company didn't know that they weren't allowing service for so many users. And somebody said, Doc says it was well over 200K by Sunday. Yeah. So one of the things I want to point out before we jump directly into them fixing it is, on a situation like this, I will put my foot down and say there's only ineptitude or feigned ignorance on this. So they know what they were doing. Sony, Helldivers, whatever, the decision gets made. You can only have one of two ways. One, they didn't know all of these nations, and it was completely chosen to post that and be arbitrary about it at the timing, because that was an indicator on the game when it was sold, was that people in the future might have to make accounts, and that they didn't understand how to even look at the very basics of their own metrics and where their own company stands. Or two, that they pretended that they didn't, and they posted it anyway. I mean, I don't know. What do you think? Like,
it's a weird thought process, man. It's a weird thought process. Dude, it is,
because if they didn't know, that's true incompetence. Like, that is I just feel like incompetence.
Their market research guy fucked up when they were segmenting their markets or something, or looking into the PC market. Like, someone fucked up heavily.
Yeah, that's
I feel like someone 100% fucked up. I think, but I think the thing that broke the camel's back was Steam delisting all. Obviously, the reviews were huge, were very huge. But I think the final straw was like Steam delisting it.
Let me point out why I believe you're right. Cyberpunk also took no real action until, whether it was Sony or Microsoft or Steam, were like, all right, we're, I can't remember how the steps went, but it was like got removed from a store. Yeah. And it seems like the reviews are definitely hurt and they see it, but the big is when Valve took action.
Good on
so
Valve,
you are right on that. What'd you say?
I said good on Valve, by the way.
Yeah, you know me. I'm usually complaining about Valve. I'm not a big fan of a lot of their business practices in other places.
Refunds.
Yeah, but they were the ones who started
look at this, Sony. This is how you do customer support.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is how you don't ban somebody who asks for a refund twice on their account. I mean, Sony's draconian refund. I don't even know how they're still allowed. Honestly, if gamers, and this isn't talking to chat unless you're in chat doing this, or any of us, but I just mean gamers as a whole, the number of people who toe some particular kind of line stating, we need to allow this, right to repair, right to return. Well, unfortunately, one of your favorite companies is one of the absolute worst doing it, and has been for years. So, and this sort of tracks into it, man. I just don't understand how it was done. But luckily, then, Valve said we're doing, or I saw leaks that Valve had started accepting returns over the 2-hour limit, and obviously well over. That would have been 200 hours for some of these gamers.
Oh yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it was like, we have decided this will, what did they say? Is it for sure not going to be turned off? And never turned on? Or they say later?
They said for sure it won't be required.
Okay.
And yeah, I think obviously the market in those countries might not be that big, but the impact it made, just the concept of not telling people exactly or clearly, and selling it to those people that won't be able to play it later, made a huge impact with everyone noticing it. And I think now what's crazy, because we've seen a lot of games do that where you have to link a lot of accounts. We've seen Microsoft, we've seen Bethesda, whatever. But now it's going to be under much more scrutiny, I feel like. Every game that comes out where it asks you to link an account, I feel like there's going to be some pushback because of this.
Did you see the Ghost of Tsushima devs popped off right away and were like, listen, we do require it for multiplayer. And you will have to use it for multiplayer.
But I think Sony. Do you think Sony will take that requirement away though from Ghost of Tsushima?
No, and here's why. Sony wants a future of service games. At very minimum, they want some. This is something that's continued. By the way, I know everybody likes to blame everything on Jim Ryan, but this is another good indicator of things happening that. People think it's this one person. Everybody wants one boogeyman. No, I don't think they will. I think they'll just they'll eat it, and what they have to do is sell it only in those nations that allow for you to even have whatever it is an account. That has to happen every time, because the moment the next game comes up, boom, that's going to be brought up. It'll be brought up
or
every
sold
time.
at a lower price where they're not able to play multiplayer, right? Because it's like mainly a single player game.
Yeah, they could separate games, but their service games aren't mostly single player that they're working on.
No,
And
yeah, for sure.
I think
for sure
people
not. I
thought
was
the
just talking about
delays of them meant they were canceled,
Yeah.
and they are not. There's still
I wonder
a ton
why-
of service games coming.
I wonder if they'll look into implementing PSN support into those nations now.
That would be my guess, because I know Microsoft is always... One thing people don't realize is I looked this up. 1% of 1% of the total population in those all those nations. We went up and we looked every nation up. We took their total population. Then we did 10% of that. And then we did 1% of that. And tried to come up with gamers or PSN gamers. And it was still it was like 350,000 people at the lowest and 1 million at the highest. But these companies, one territory can boon you quite well. I mean, one of the nations had like 30 million people in it. You're like, dude, that's and then if you take out your gamers and you say only 1% are gamers, that is still a tremendous amount. So Microsoft and Sony are both looking, they want to get the new nations.
A lot of them who have PlayStations over there do have accounts, but obviously spoofed with another country and stuff like that. That for sure exists. We had to do that back in the day in Syria. Yeah.
But a lot of people who have consoles don't know how to spoof an account because they have consoles too. We have them in our own chat where somebody's like, I don't have a computer, I have an Android, and I mess around on, they're not in their router. If it's a router version of VPN, they're not in an app for VPN. They turn on the system, and this is the honest to God truth. They expect it to actually fucking connect. I mean, if the companies are sitting there selling it, then they expect it. But let me tell you the one thing that blew me away. It just makes no fucking sense to me, man. Dude, this is why it's so embarrassing when I see PR statements. Sony stated, we're still learning on the PC side. And like we understand what or we're trying to figure out what PC gamers want. And I'm all, dude, what are you even talking about, man? Like, that is the most embarrassing thing to say when you say we can't even... It's not only common sense. There's 3,000 examples of likewise situations involving connectivity, merging accounts that you could have looked up in 7 seconds. And for some reason, incompetence has replaced... Incompetence has replaced truly saying whatever's going on. Incompetence is the new apology. But it's crazy. We're still learning. It's weird to me when I read it from a major company being like, we're still learning about PC. It's like, you're still fucking learning about, what are you even talking about? You don't have to enter it to okay, how many times have you seen a fucking NASCAR race where a bunch of people crash and then afterwards they say, we're still learning NASCAR?
Yeah, we're still practicing.
This is the first time we got in a car. It's fucking such a line of bullshit, man. It's such a line of bullshit.
Long ladder. Yeah.
Dude, it's embarrassing, man. That part embarrassed me. I mean, the entire situation for gaming is super embarrassing, but that really embarrassed me because it makes everybody appear more stupid.
Exactly. I like what you said before. I don't know what they were trying to. Were they trying to get away with something? Like, what were they trying? What was their goal? Because I see no, I see no way out of that. Oh, just completely sell it to everybody, including people who can't do this one thing that we're going to require in the future, and we're just going to implement it. Like, I just don't understand. I don't understand that sequence of events from their perspective. So I feel like someone truly fucked up.
I think with a lot of times when a person says they don't understand, like you or I, your brain just does not want to come to the logical conclusion that they tried to fuck people.
How? Like, even if you're trying to fuck people, like, it was just going to be swept under the rug. Okay, those people are just going to...
I think that when I say fuck people, I mean that putting the alert in and that putting the alert in at the starting as a generic whatever warning was them acknowledging that was a step in the future that was for sure going to happen. And by trying to fuck people, meaning that they didn't have 80 warnings when you bought it that said, are you sure? Because at some point, Jordan will not be allowed to play this game. Do you want to buy it until you cannot play? And then you try to buy it again. It's like, you live in Jordan. You press it again. It's like, your name is Bill and you live in Jordan. And you press it again. And then it's like, please, cut yourself and bleed onto the controller sensor. Verify that you know that you are purchasing a for sure time limited game. And they didn't.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you're talking about cutting blood. Did you hear that in the UK to make a PSN account, you have to actually scan your ID.
I
Some
did
people
see
just
that.
obviously don't
Yeah.
want to do
I
that.
think
Yeah.
somebody said Ireland might have been that way too. There was a facial recognition weird thing for account not sign-ins, but it had to do with something on the electrical side. Somebody was just saying, "Oh, just make an account," and it was like you can't. You know, there's like these other things that
Fucking
we don't
crazy.
think of. I don't have. It's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Well, in the spoofing thing is definitely valid. It's definitely valid.
Maybe that's what they thought people would do. Like Sony thought people would do that in those countries. They'd be like, oh, they'll just use, PSN account. Even though it's against the TOS, maybe secretly they thought, oh, it's not a big
But
deal.
not only is it against the TOS,
you know
I
what I
don't
mean?
care if they thought people would just do that.
Exactly. I know that.
Because what about the
stupid.
one person who doesn't and who has a time
Yeah.
limited game? That one person, I
Yeah.
understand server outages and this and that and this and that. The idea that they're going to demand you figure out like a VPN is just ludicrous, man. Like,
Yeah.
that's fucking ridiculous. Whatever.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It
They
is.
reversed it.
Truly.
They stopped it. Ghost of
Yeah.
Tsushima is going to be that way. Future games are going to be that way. Other companies, by the way, have ended up being able to do this successfully after multiple issues, but they have been able to do it. There's multiple examples of successful merges, and there's multiple examples of bad ones. I do not believe them whatsoever. I don't believe them. I don't like the way they handled it, obviously.
Yeah.
Either it was pure, utter, absolute incompetence, and this has happened with Microsoft with all the leaks of their Game Pass games where a tweet goes live and some jackass isn't verifying that Remnant went live on Game Pass or whatever, and no one knew and even talked about it. Stuff like this, where the tech is getting ahead of people almost, and people are just not paying attention to shit. Is it possible it popped up, Like, is it possible that it popped up and they didn't notice? And maybe they had a timer on that tweet or whatever it was sent out. We have a super chat here. Damage code $5. There's a new game called Abiotic Factor that's been popping off. Remnants of Half-Life, but survival. Curious if you guys have checked it out. I haven't, Damaged, and thanks for the super chat. It helps the channel big time. I've not checked that out. I don't know what it is. Yeah. Have you?
Nope.
Ambiotic Factor? Okay. No. So we haven't checked that one out.
Though. I like Half-Life.
Yeah, I'm always a big fan of jumping into those kind of games. I did put a super chat up here. We'll cover one, and then we'll go on to Xbox. So the first question that we got for the Wednesday podcast, this is from Discord user Fizz Viper. I like to call him Fizzy Viper because it sounds like a punk rock band.
Fizzy drink.
Thin Lizzy. That's why it reminds me of a punk rock. Yeah. What's the weirdest controller you guys have played with? Mine is the Atari Jaguar and the Nintendo 64. First of all, you cheated. You gave two answers. I find that unacceptable. But N64 for me. What about you?
Yeah, I guess
weirdest controller.
Either N64 or the Wii. No, N64 for sure. That is definitely
Wii
more
U
weird.
might have been weird at the time. It's been a long time since I messed with that, but Wii U was
a little weird.
Yeah, Dreamcast was a bit odd prior to the two analog sticks, right? That was before the two analog sticks went big. Yeah. So now we're going to talk about Xbox. So this is huge news. Obviously, Arcane Austin, Tango Gameworks, and Alpha Dogs, and Roadhouse Games were all... Basically, what happened was they dissolved those companies. Some are being... Bethesda stated openly they are hiring in on some of those jobs, which I'm going to get to in a minute because I actually... This is unexpected, but in a weird way expected in movement, not in these firings. But let me explain some of the companies. Arcane Austin, by the way. This is not all of Arcane. That was also brought up. People were... saying, oh my God, every Arcane company. No, it's just Austin. Dishonored, Prey, and Deathloop were their major titles. Most recent was Redfall. Tango Gameworks was The Evil Within, Hi-Fi Rush, as well as Ghostwire Tokyo. Alpha Dogs and Roadhouse Games, I couldn't really find any. I think they're mostly mobile, so they didn't really appear. Austin has had some members being hired into Bethesda, and Roadhouse is actually merging with ZeniMax, as well as it sounds like Alpha Dog. So those were disbanded, but some are going away completely, and those people are probably all looking. But then Austin, some of those people are going into Bethesda, and then the two smaller companies, some of them are merging with ZeniMax. Now, this is Matt Booty, basically the party lead over at Xbox, and this is his letter. He said, "Today I'm sharing changes we're making to our Bethesda and ZeniMax teams. These changes are grounded in prioritizing high-impact titles and further investing in Bethesda's portfolio of blockbuster games and beloved worlds, which you have nurtured over many decades. To double down on these franchises and invest to build new ones requires us to look across businesses to identify opportunities that are best suited or best positioned for success. This reprioritization of titles and resources means a few teams will be realigned to others, and some of our colleagues will be leaving us." Now, here's what I want to point out. Last week, Todd Howard, during a podcast, stated this when he was talking about Fallout. You know, they do take a long time, and so I think one of the things we're focused on here is making sure that titles are of the highest quality. Also finding ways to increase our output, because we don't want to wait that long either, right? It's never our plan, but we want to make sure we get it right. I'm not going to say guarantee, but the writing's on the wall that Fallout being huge in TV shows and the clamoring for somehow figuring out how to do a Fallout and an Elder Scrolls at the same time. It feels to me like Bethesda, Microsoft looked at those. Also remember that Bethesda was doing a couple cuts prior to being purchased by Microsoft, and there's a long-standing rumor that Arcane was already being looked at because of the sales of certain games. Prior to Redfall, their output, while beloved by myself, did not sell well. Mm-hmm. And my personal belief is that a lot of this is also based on that, the move to get a Fallout. And their hope, possibly, you'd get together and you say, we're going to take a huge hit, both financially as well as socially, all this, but what do we do to consolidate teams and possibly release our big games? Because if you look at Bethesda's big games, Bethesda probably has people working on Starfield and its DLCs and later DLCs, and then some small team. Todd's been open about some people work on one game, other people work on them, but he makes it sound like it's a very small team that are currently, like, let's say, working on Fallout versus working on Elder Scrolls. It seems to me that it's writing on the wall that they are going to try to spin up another team and just say, okay, Todd's going to run two teams, and we're going to do a Fallout, and we're going to do, your Skyblivion, whatever the hell you call it. It sucks. It was a bad thing, but that's been a rumor for a long time, well before Microsoft hired them, that there were some issues and some cuts that Bethesda was trying to figure out and look at, and it feels to me like that we've finally seen them. And I don't think it'll be the end, man. I don't know about you, but it feels to me like we're going to see, Sony, Concrete Genie devs they fired. They fired many. It's like we're starting to get these cuts. Sony made cuts. Microsoft's making big cuts.
Everyone is,
Yeah. And I also just wonder, like, do they look at titles like a Wolfenstein? Wolfenstein Youngblood didn't do well. Wolfenstein VR didn't do well. Redfall didn't do well. The list of games that didn't do well, quite high. It's actually
Isn't that just like a wake-up call for those Wolfenstein? Like, maybe we should just make another Wolfenstein game, like how we've been doing
That's
it.
what I was getting to. I wonder if they might look and go,
Jesus,
all right, what are we going to do? How are we going to move forward with this? Because it sucks for everybody involved, and it's not going to be the end, man. It's not the end of... when you look at the sales and stuff, it used to be where it's almost like patrons in the old days, like old ancient, civilizations would say, okay, you are the artist. Here's patronage to keep you going. You might see a success. I might get something from it, but here's sort of what's happening. And it seems like that's gone. It's all because, it is all just straight metrics. It's all straight, blockbuster sales, as Matt Booty said. Matt Booty. I don't know about you,
I heard
dude.
that the Tango one was surprising to me, but I heard that the head honcho left.
Yeah,
like right before or something.
Well, not only that, but there's titles. So we're talking about Tango right now.
Yeah.
So if I look at Tango, Evil Within's didn't sell great. They sold good, but we don't know exactly what the finances are. And another reason I bring this up is Alan Wake 2 is still not made money. So it's like how much are these costing now? Which we have heard. Hi-Fi Rush was subscription day one. What do you call it? A shadow drop. And I've never been aware of how shadow drops work, because what Microsoft said is we're happy with all the numbers and the integration and the downloads, but remember, they're not selling it. Those people. So if I have a subscription from the 1st to the 30th and a big game comes on the 12th and I download it, Microsoft is not seeing anything for that. The only time they will see a boost, or Bethesda in this case, would be a new subscription. And I personally don't know if they sold it somewhere else. People can correct me in chat if they sold that as well. But Hi-Fi Rush was a great game. From what I understand, almost everybody who played it loved it, and the people who maybe didn't like it didn't even play it that much because it just wasn't for them overall. But I think it's considered super high quality. And then Ghostwire Tokyo was fairly middling. I mean, I think it's fair to say it was middling. It's not terrible. It's just middling. And
Yeah.
It sucks. It sucks because Austin, dude, Deathloop was not great, but Prey I loved, but Prey did not sell well.
Well, I thought Deathloop was the Dishonored devs, Leon.
Deathloop was, well, it was on the list for Arcane Austin.
But I think Leon did Deathloop and
oh, you might be right. Let me look it up.
Deathloop. Dishonored. Austin did Prey and Redfall.
You got the list in your head? Oh, sorry, I was making sure.
No, I just yeah.
So it looks like, which one were we talking about? Deathloop. You're right.
Deathloop,
Arcane Lion. So we can scratch that one from there. But yeah. So I don't know, man. I don't know. Like,
did Microsoft
I don't know
say
because
anything?
What'd you say?
Did Microsoft say anything yet? Like Microsoft themselves?
Well, Matt Booty's the main guy.
Okay, so it was just him.
Yeah.
So they didn't. Yeah, it's weird. They didn't talk about like restructuring a lot. It's just what you guess is happening.
Eddie said at the end was some will be reformed and reorganized, and others will be leaving us.
Well, Bethesda does need more. I think it still is very low on employees, man. For like a big studio, it's got only like 400 employees.
It's got 400, and they seem to have the occasional small thing that they do, but it's got 400, and it seems like they have a very long process for getting a game out. I don't think that's the engine, because we've seen other titles take forever to get a game out too. It's taken them longer, but it feels to me like I'd be really interested to see where the organization goes. Does it go into art? What, like, it would be nice to... Bethesda has done some behind the scenes before. It'd be nice to have... This will never happen, but it'd be great to know what the stymie is. Is it just getting the tech up and running? Because I think we can agree Starfield has issues in the tech department when it comes to loading screens. So it's like that didn't work. So do we throw more people at that? It's almost like hiring the GTA guy who fixed the loading screens in GTA Online, or something like that.
I think they suffer from scope creep maybe a little bit,
Scope
maybe
creep's
just like
possible.
Trying to do something too ambitious for the manpower they have. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Sicilian Gamer $10 super chat says Xbox is a plague on the industry, buying up great studios only to mismanage and close them. Since Lionhead in the 2000s, Hi-Fi Rush was their highest rated game, and they didn't market it. Yeah, highest rated does not mean sales, unfortunately, at all. Highest rated means loved, but it does not mean purchased.
Alan Wake 2.
Alan Wake 2. It's unfortunate. There is no connection between them. It really sucks. Woodpit says patronage exists in politics. Yeah, patronage, I think, exists still in gaming. I just think that it's a little... We seem to be going, seem to be, like, reverting away from it. Woodpit says PlayStation started gobbling up studios first. Oh, yeah, PlayStation was gobbling up studios prior to Xbox having a console. I had to live through that. But when you look at this kind of stuff, I think that we have these issues that we're seeing now, which is unfortunate. We're going to have to look at, where gaming goes from here when it comes to immersive simulations as well. Because, man, I feel like other than small or AA, where the output is not just some crazy thing, that we just won't be getting them for a long period of time until the industry there's some more growth and the industry figures out a way to put those in. I would love to see it. It feels like service games are doing what the first person games did, where every game became first person. You remember where for a while you were like, "Oh my god, every game became first person."
For
yeah,
me,
well, true,
I love that.
true. I did like first person games, but
I love first person. But no, I think it's getting the RTS treatment when RTSs were huge, and now they're coming back again. RTSs are kind of coming back, but with immersive sims, it's a harder one because that's you see elements of sims in like almost every game. A lot of games have a lot of elements from immersive sims. Like I think Tears of the Kingdom and Baldur's Gate 3 are among the most simmy type combat games. And now the ones that want to make those pure immersive sims, I feel like the scope is very narrow, that they the things that are inspired by Prey and Thief and all those great ones are being left to indie devs. And we got great examples such as Weird West or Control Alt Ego, which is fantastic, and even System Shock Remake was made by an indie dev. I'm hoping, I would love to see AAA going back at like pure immersive. I would want to see what a AAA pure MSim would look like. That would be really, really cool. But I know Blade is heavily leaning into that. The CEO is super, or like the guy that owns, I think Arcane Leon, not owns, the president or whatever. Super, he's very passionate about that. So that'd be cool to see. Yeah.
Another super chat. This is $5 from Burn Pit Shorts says, thanks for continuing to bring quality casts. You guys keep me company on my long journeys to work. It's been a blast hanging out with you in Discord. Thank you very much. Yes, I appreciate anybody in Discord. It always takes a little stress of the way of the job. And using you guys in the last couple days to figure out the way I'm doing this this video I'm working on currently, which is unlike any of the videos I've done before, has been nice to bounce some ideas off you guys. So I absolutely do appreciate you guys sort of giving opinions on some of the stuff that's coming up. And people, no, reviews aren't done. I legitimately just have not been getting codes. And I'm actually talking to somebody right now where it looks like somebody stole one of my logins for another place. And Jesus. I was trying to get in going, I would like to talk to people about getting this code. And I'm like, why am I already in this system? So I don't know exactly what's going on there. But yeah, reviews aren't stopping. Thank you very much for being in the Discord. You rock. I appreciate it, man. Yeah, dude, I would love to see a AAA immersive. Okay, here's the thing, though. If they don't sell...
Yeah.
If they don't sell, I would love to see 69 Camaros come back. But if they don't sell... You know what I mean? Like, and by the way, that was, I think, a good selling car, but it was one of my favorite cars growing up. I just don't know how much we can... expect. If something's just not doing well in the market, then there has to be an uncomfortable conversation where you say, then maybe that's not going to be made for the market. Like, I don't know another way around it. Like if you would do it and I would do it. Let's say I had 20 shirt designs, but feasibly I was making them myself, and only one shirt design was selling well and one was selling terribly. At some point, I do have to say,
you'd focus your resources on the thing that's selling for sure.
Yeah, it just sucks balls. Because we want everything. And as an immersive sim lover, it's one of my favorite games of all time. Prey is fantastic. Like Dishonored,
the best one, I think.
I wasn't a massive fan of, but I know people were, so I'll add it right in there. I don't know why they don't sell. Like, you would probably need a big, detailed,
it's weird, man,
breakdown of what happens.
They inhabit the space of not selling well initially, and then years later, people saying this is one of my favorite games of all time. But still, I think over a long period of time, it doesn't even sell that well as much as you'd expect it to, which is crazy because everywhere on Reddit or where have you, people are talking about how good Prey is, or how good even something like Control, you know what I mean? Even something like Alan Wake 2, which isn't immersive sim, but good examples of games that people love that just don't do well in the market. I feel like there are a lot more casuals than people think that are, not as vocal, that play, easier to get into games.
I will also say this. I think when you look at immersive sims, there is a very high possibility that you are selling to a niche that you are not understanding. And the explanation goes like this. Many people who like first-person games that are fast and blowing shit up. And when you say it's an immersive sim, there may be a pushback we're not expecting, where a person who likes Duke Nukem sees System Shock and says that is too. I got my gun in front of me 90% of the time. Why am I not shooting with it? Because think about it this way: how many other games, third person, we definitely see it, or isometric. Sure. But a lot of games, you don't even have a weapon out when you're walking around, and then you pull it out because it's turn-based or what have you. Like in a lot of Final Fantasies, I think they're just walking around, and then you go into the turn-based, you pull your weapon out. I could be wrong on that. I'm talking about the older ones. But when you look at the ones now, you have a first-person shooter, and even the sim games a lot of times will have a weapon in front of them. Not all of them, and so you're like, why am I not shooting it as much as I want? And then there's people who see the sim element slowing down the shooting elements. So I'm wondering if there's something to be said about it being a double niche. Maybe not maybe niche isn't even right. Maybe it's just 1.5 niches. But there's people who don't like first-person games, and then there's people who do, and the people who do may not be exactly desiring
action.
Yeah, there may be something there that we're not seeing because, man, if you look at immersive sim sales, there's just not many blockbusters on that list. They're and the blockbuster numbers are nothing compared to the blockbusters in other genres.
Dude, I feel like if I wasn't aware of Prey and someone just showed me a clip of how you use the glue gun, I'd just like, I'd be like,
it was crazy.
My money, dude. What is this? Is this gaming? So it's just wild to me because in my head, it has the most interesting, like, when you think about what you can do in a virtual world, and it's like, oh, what if I try to do this and then the enemies would react that way? That's like your mom talking to you about a game where she'd think that you can manipulate NPCs in certain ways. It's just really cool, imaginative things that you could do, and it's weird that a lot of people just don't prefer that, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with that. IS Sailor 18, $5 super chat. Dead Space remake sold very poorly. Even the original sold only 1 million. There you go. Now DS2 is probably not happening. Yeah, it's unfortunate because they can be great games. They can be great games. They can be games we enjoy. If they do not sell, the money is the final. So here's the thing. An artist, as somebody who's painted or whatever, I can't sell my painting to anybody. But if I have a friend who's like, that drawing or painting is really good, that's sort of the way where we are right now. That doesn't pay the bills. Like, I'm not getting food from that. And so immersive sims must be in some way that, because I think I talk about immersive sims being art more than I do other games a lot of times. I talk about that. So, and maybe that's it. I do want to say, somebody was saying that when you become a YouTube member, how do you join the Discord? There should be you should be able to go to Google and type that in, search it. I would search it now, but we're in the middle of the podcast. It is very easy to join them, though, because we have a bunch of people doing it. I just don't know if it's the first button or what have you, but it's easy to do, and I don't think there is a delay. Let's see. I asked people if they wanted immersive sims and what they wanted. What's up, Rogerio? Let's see. Looks like the action in Prey is just okay. Not going to grab the masses per se. Enemies get a bit repetitive as well. Yeah, so that might be a thing too. So let's say you do a first-person shooter and each level's a new location, right? And each level is a new enemy type. Most immersive sims are immersive, not wide. So the immersive sim part of it is a level with space stations where maybe the enemies are repetitive because you have to immerse, like it sort of should be called immersive depth simulator.
You have to buy into to who you're against. Like, these are the people, we're not going to just blast.
And these are the ways in which this one kind of enemy or this situation that warps my reality is gonna feed back to me. And so I mean, we saw this. What I think Weird West did a good job. It was Weird West, right?
Yeah,
isometric. That one did a good job, but it was still all deserty. It was still all the same type of humans. The entire game, I mean, not the same type of humans. There were ghosts or creatures. I can't remember. That's been a while. But there were other creatures. But I think when you look at it, and you're just being fair to say that it's hard to have the sim part if the sim is changing constantly. Because then that fluidity, you were talking about the glue gun. Glue gun is experimentation, and every scientist will tell you experimentation takes time. And that means time invested in the location, not time invested in travel and exploration. That becomes an RPG at that point. Like that.
I feel like
go for it.
That's like one big thing that I think also it suffers from is that you can play a lot of immersive sims in the most boring way possible. It's like Devil May Cry. You know what I mean? You can go in and spam or whatever low difficulty and get through it. And you might not know 90% of the shit you can do because of how they work, where they give you tools and you can experiment in a lot of ways. And some people just want to be told what to do and do it and not really go crazy with what you can do. So maybe a lot of people just see that and think it's boring, right?
Yeah. I was watching somebody, name unsaid, in our Discord streaming and playing Prey. And the difficulty they were having was insanely high. To the point where I had to mute them. Not any problem on their part, but they were asking so many questions and so confused by simply getting data. Was it them? No, it was the fact that this was one of their first immersive sims. And Prey isn't necessarily super easy to figure out how the world wants to enact with you, because it's also trying to warp your expectation of reality due to the very story. So
what a good game, though. Oh
yeah.
my God,
Dude, it's fantastic for immersive sim fans, but for a non-immersive sim fan.
Yeah, I know, but you talking about those disadvantages, just like, oh man, that was such a good game. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I'm just saying I got to see it firsthand just 3 or 4 days ago, watching somebody play Prey and being like, damn, because the thing about Prey is small bits of sharing is great to me. Oh, the glue gun's useful. Somebody can just say that and be like, really? That's good enough. But if you take away the immersion of the simulation by telling me too much, then I'll enjoy it less. I want to sort of figure it out. But if somebody says, hey, just so you know, the glue gun can make steps. And I remember playing that and figuring it out and just being like,
yeah, they did it in a very smart way where you go in and you just see it, see it there already. Yeah. And
so my question is Half-Life 1 and 2 immersive sim? Because I don't think they are. I think they're a sim. I think they are a depthy shooter and an experimental shooter.
It's
but
like Bioshock. You know what I mean? Bioshock had a little bit more with the elements interacting, but I feel like they were both. You can maybe say immersive sim lights. Like they had the feel of an immersive sim, but they didn't really have that a lot of those sim elements. Yeah.
Yeah, or the layer. Maybe it's just a question of layers. How many layers?
Maybe. Yeah.
And light or immersive sim as a word is difficult anyway, because the moment you start
because you can look at Zelda, where you wouldn't call Zelda an immersive sim, but you could say it has one of the most
it's pretty
stuff that you could do, man. Like
lightning on
outside
armor
the box a lot.
There was some crazy crap going on in that game. It's definitely on the sim side of an RPG, for sure.
For sure, yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, it sucks. I love the idea. The fact that enemies can be any object cannot make them repetitive, in my opinion. Unfortunately, I personally found that to be one of the biggest non-starters in Prey, was them being able to transform. At first, it was cool, but I noticed a lot of the mimics doing the same items, probably just by the way the world was set up. Let me give you an example. If you put a world together and it's 8 by 10 rooms, and you have a desk, a chair, and a cup, which item can be repetitively used in a room more often than the others? The cup.
Yeah.
And we saw that. You could definitely tell. You can have 2 desks and 4 cups, so the chance of it being a cup, just by sheer process of making a room look organic, is going to be higher on the cup side than it is on the desk side. And so what I found myself doing is sort of going into rooms with more clutter and automatically assuming they were a mimic. So, my brain was all right, this room's got a lot of clutter, probably a chance, and you're skirting.
Gary's mod, man.
Yeah, and you're just constantly looking around and skirting just because the very basics of how the world was set up. Or once you were tricked and maybe, the mimics didn't come in there, you were like, all right, so immediate clutter doesn't mean it, but it's still just by the process of mathematics and size of a room and the way humans build shit, it's going to be smaller items more often.
Mechanics like those where enemies can do stuff like that. I love how it's like a dynamic kind of, I want to say storyteller, or they allow for these kind of sequences of events that may be scary or give you a different type of vibe for a little bit. But like it's not always the same. It's kind of like Alien Isolation, you know what I mean? Where random stuff can happen, but that can be your own story, which is always really, really cool. Like those scary moments with mimics that I've had a couple times were definitely really, really scary.
Reading some of the chats. Let's do this. Here we go. I want to say thanks to everybody who chats. It does help the channel. Not making shit up. YouTube,
real quick.
go for it. YouTube is pretty weird right now, so any help and any comments, again, if you open up the video, I guess you can leave comments even now. I would appreciate it. Sicilian Gamer says, Xbox actually harms the industry. I'm in the military and have deployed 5 times. Xbox was pushing DRM online only, which makes it hard for us to play games. Just repeated terrible decisions. Funny enough, Sony was also, listen to the Jack Trent interview. That was quite intelligent of them to reverse it back to make it appear like Xbox was the only one doing it. Oregon Fresh says, make art, insure art, take loans out on insured art, infinite wealth hack. Enigma says, I play devil's advocate and say Nintendo and Sony harm the industry. All 3 have pros and cons. Yeah, that's the way it works, for sure. All 3 do. They all also bring in new users, let's hope. Shadow Wolf says, Atomic Heart, infinite spawning enemies got old. Makes sense. I can see that. I've enjoyed it overall. I had a really good time in Atomic Heart, do the atmosphere and stuff, but like every game, some issues there. Tech and Things says, do you find yourself playing your games more on console or PC? Myself, it's pretty split. I do a lot on my handheld now, where I stream to it when I'm doing, when I'm like sitting in the living room or something like that, but never for a review, but definitely for personal time. Let's see. The monster just didn't have much personality, in my opinion. Same goes for Mold People and Resident Evil 7. I can see that. Brennan says Oblivion is another game with a lot of immersive sim elements, especially in the AI and schedules. I 100% agree with that, and thank you very much for mentioning that. Enigma Lake says, studios close often. I've been gaming since the 80s. I've seen awesome ones come and go and fall victim to greed. Yeah, and fall victim to nothing. Man, I mean, the world loves, unfortunately, the world loves a boogeyman. But the boogeyman many times is how the world works, and the boogeyman is everybody and everything. Eternal says, I'm surprised they haven't made a Thing game with an AI like the Xenomorph in Alien Isolation. That would be incredible. I also think that the Thing game came and went, and I somewhat enjoyed that game, the old Thing game. I thought it was pretty enjoyable. I don't even remember who it was made by, but if I remember right, John Carpenter was even somewhat involved. Avita says, what do you guys think of Xbox Shadow dropping Hellblade 2 pre-install trailer with a release of May 21st, or did I just see this late? I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. I've read that 3 times. I'm not 100% sure what that means. I apologize, Vita. I don't, that one I don't quite get. Eternal says, I think a long time ago before AI was advanced, but it was more of a traditional movie tie-in for the Thing. Yeah. So, guys, gals, everybody listening, I mean, it sucks. Shout out to the devs. Make sure you follow any of those devs that, you want to follow from these companies if you want to follow them. Many times the difference between a person staying in the industry and leaving the industry when a layoff occurs or what have you can also be the perception of them being desired in the industry. And the reason why I know that is because just talking to some indie devs here recently who left the industry completely, they had stated they just didn't feel supported. They did a pretty good game too, but they felt like the support was come and go. It was more of a social where it hit, and just sort of exploded. There's another super chat. $10. Xbox spent tens of millions in court arguing with the FTC. They should be allowed to buy more studios, yet they mismanage and close the studios they have. Hi-Fi Rush shadow dropped and no physical release. Yeah, that's what I thought. No physical release. Yeah, all these companies are in fucking the court nowadays. Sony, Microsoft, Epic are now being sued for, or Sony, Microsoft, I could be wrong on the exacts, but I think it's Sony, Epic, Microsoft, and another company are being sued for making games too too addicting. And I'm like, do we really want the government deciding what our addiction level is?
It's a slippery slope there,
a slippery slope. Yeah, slippery slope. Yeah. Lord Cornet says it's all about money, bottom line. Yeah, it is. Vance C says, am I nuts if I still occasionally play and like Alien Colonial Marines? All right, dude. Come on.
Bro, I played that game like once for a little bit.
It was rough as hell. It was
Was
rough
it?
as hell. Yeah,
I
but it's
remember like going through like
aliens.
some sand and
It's
then
what we
going into
want,
like a
you know.
place.
We
Yeah.
want that game. We want an
Yeah.
aliens game to be good. I think most people do. It's two tie-ins. It's a game. It's first-person shooter. It's aliens. It's like we want it to be good, but it was not.
Yeah.
Dodo7 Jur says, "Oh no, they're talking back and forth about Hellblade." And Hellblade, Hellblade coming out is also, I think, going to face an uphill battle because of how it is, how it's made. It's just how we're going to get it. I'm going to love those kind of things more than many, but it's like 7 hours more linear, and it may not appeal.
I think not just immersive sims, but I feel like a lot of first-person single-player games in general are not releasing that much. I feel like most of the time when it's single-player, it's a third-person action-adventure game, and usually first-person games have multiplayer, and they're trying to hit the esports market or now the Tarkov market. I don't see a lot of single-player first-person actual good campaign. I was looking at Steam. Trepanning 2 is an amazing game, but I was looking at a very like a tactical, stealthy kind of a SWAT game, but single player, full on campaign with a good story, and that didn't exist, for the last 5-6 years.
Yeah. Was ACG celebrating Bethesda and Activision acquisitions, or was he against it? I'm not against acquisitions. I think on that one, I think if I remember right, Activision didn't make a ton of sense. I don't have an issue with it. I don't like it, but that was a weird one. Bethesda, on the other hand, man, did I love it or did I not? I don't remember what my first... I'd have to go back and look, but I would say for sure I see some positive, or thought there were some positives to it. Especially because I would now say, I mean, we all know, or we don't all know, but you can go back and look. There were definitely talks in particular around some of these studios, or some studios being closed, and Bethesda had tightened up on many at the time. So the idea that maybe a little financial brunt was taken off, or maybe those studios lasted a little longer in the current industry, because I do see how that can happen. But I don't really celebrate or worry. I think what I do is usually just look at, like, why. I'm more interested in why somebody does it than anything. Let's see. Juan says it's not about money. These companies were financially successful. It did not matter. No, they weren't. Unless you're talking about the overarching companies, but the developers, that's actually been... I mean, that's pretty much the way it is. They didn't sell well. If they were more financially viable, there would be more games in those exact same way, and they would be, and that's the way it is. Like if you're making a bunch of money. I think if you're making a bunch of money. We'll have to see. Have we seen one that's made a ton of money? Like a ton of money. A developer make a ton of money, just randomly close down?
That's a good question. So many companies got closed down. Holy shit. Well, we've seen them get downsized. We've seen companies that have released very successful games get downsized. A lot of employees kicked.
And not the 40% downsizing when a game releases, because you're no longer making, you're maintaining?
No. Aside from that, I think...
okay, aside from... Yeah, because that one gets constantly confused, is that, when you go from making to maintenance, which is rough. Jay Richardson says Obsidian is safe. I don't think anybody's safe. Well, Obsidian probably. If Obsidian had a couple losses and weren't selling a bunch, do I think they're safe? I don't know.
If they close down something like Obsidian, they're not allowed to just reopen as their own thing, right? Like,
yeah, right.
I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I don't know how it works.
So they would acquire something and then literally close it, like acquire a company and then you're gone from existence. The company, the entity, basically.
Yeah. Let's see. What else do we got? Monaru, I know the opposite, like God Eater devs that make super niche games that sell 200,000 copies maximum and still manage to remain afloat. Yeah. I mean, if you look at God Eater, I think it's pretty easy to assume how they're making money at only 200,000 sales. Even if it's enjoyable, it's definitely rough. I wish we didn't get all the copycats back to back until we're sick of them, though. Like the Souls-likes from FromSoft popularized. Yeah, That I think I agree with, right?
I
We've got that
100%
multiple
agree
times
with
where I was telling you guys in chat, I mean, I'm sure I've said it here, where there were many times where I'd be like, oh, come on, it's another, I'd get another PR about a roguelike. I'd get another PR about blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
Siler, did he read my super chat? I did. Let's see. Nintendo CEO took a pay cut to stop layoffs. That was awesome. Yeah, I wonder how much. So
Not
let's say somebody.
in Japan.
Not a lot of layoff. Okay. So just so you know, one of the things that some companies do in Japan is they will disintegrate a developer of some kind, put them back into the major corporation, and then thin the corporation. So there are things that occur there. It's not like a magical panacea where nothing bad happens. So I just want to point that out, that like companies have ways of doing things that sort of pop up. Does everybody think the idea of Avowed looks good? To anybody who's in chat, like, are you guys excited for Avowed? Are you not excited? Are you worried about Avowed? I would say with Avowed, I'm excited for the idea, but that combat still.
Yeah, I'm worried and excited. Worried.
Sailor Moon says, Sailor Moon. I'm sorry, Sailor. I apologize. You gotta, that has to have happened to you prior. I can't be the only one who accidentally says Sailor Moon. But Sailor Mercury says Avowed looks fun to me. Jay Reaper says 50-50. Jay, your post right then is so you. 50-50 is Jay Reaper's entire modus of life. Like, I love modus operandi. That's awesome. Worst case scenario, Obsidian just gets shuffled. Let's see. Lord Cornet says, meh. Night Letter says, I'm excited about Avowed until they revealed it last year. Volatile says, the preview didn't look good to me, but I'm excited at the potential. Oregon Fresh is a little like Absy, I think. Just the world alone intrigues me.
Yeah.
Fitness Mad, kind of worried. I was pretty disappointed with Outer Worlds. Man, I really liked Outer Worlds, but I do understand why somebody maybe they should have explained it. I don't know.
But this is crazy because
I get it. I understand that.
Because Outer Worlds, this is what I think it goes into what we talked about with like interesting concepts not getting a lot of sales, or getting a lot of people that don't like it that much. And nothing wrong with people who don't like it, but it came at a time where Fallout 4 came out prior, and a lot of games were streamlining and stripping away choice and the classic kind of skill-based dialogue and dialogue trees and systems. And a lot of people were trying to, not copying Witcher, but after Witcher, a lot of people were doing the radial thing with like the voice protagonists and stuff. And Outer Worlds came, and it's like, this is like just a full-on first-person RPG, and people didn't like it that much. So a lot of people did, but I hear a lot that some people didn't really like it. So,
and I apologize, Lord Comet. I have super small chat on here, so my windows aren't big, and I thought it said Lord Cornet. I apologize. I'm actually pretty pumped for Avowed. This is Boptimus Prime, but yeah, still hesitant. Gary says, I feel like Game Pass does not help versus getting sales from people actually buying the game, which is why I feel the company is shutting down. Oh, those companies are shutting down. Olaf, I'm quite interested, but I keep my expectations in check. Sailor Mercury says, Sailor Mercury, I got it right. I loved Outer Worlds. I think some people expected it to be grander. So that's what I was going to bring up. I'm glad you mentioned that. That was absolutely my thought, was that I think the spoke, the hub-based, there was just a desire. By the way, one of the best DLCs ever, if you haven't played the DLC for Outer Worlds, is incredible. The writing is incredible. Everything. That DLC is amazing. But it is a hub-based KOTOR style. And so it spoke to me because I wasn't expecting open world, but I do absolutely agree that when I was playing it, there were times where I was like, I wish I could do something with the ship, or I wish I could have more sense of ownership. You got your own ship, what do you call it? Cabin. I thought that was pretty cool. You have a hidden party member. I thought that was somewhat cool. The ship's attitude was pretty funny. More Borderlands funny, I guess, than anything. Sort of reminiscent of Borderlands kind of humor sometimes. Sort of just a cranky, weird AI. I liked the story and the characters. I liked the worlds. But I do absolutely see why, if somebody's tromping around, it could, if they spend a lot of time in it, they could find themselves going, man, I just wish there were more. It was bigger. There was more
combat,
stuff.
I guess.
Better combat in particular. See, so there's two things about that. I don't know about you, Abzy. I love the companions having their own attacks, and that needs to be in Starfield. The ability to tell Pavardi or whatever, the ability to tell her to come and hammer somebody with a hammer was just, or the one girl, I can't remember her name, short hair, she looks like a younger Sarah from Starfield.
Yeah, I forgot her name.
She'd whip out the dual pistols and be like, but that was exactly what I wanted. But the up-close fighting in that game, shooting was okay, really stilted, but I mean, it was okay. I didn't hate it, but the up-close combat was pretty not fun. It was pretty not fun.
It seems hard to nail the melee, first-person melee.
Danielle says, I would get motion sickness playing Outer Worlds, only game that's ever happened to me, so I couldn't enjoy it. That sucks. I don't know why. It could be FOV, could be the way it moved, but I absolutely understand exactly why that kind of stuff can happen. Tom says, all these responses tell you the big picture. Most people won't buy Avowed and will just play it on Game Pass, which means its sales ain't gonna be great. Don't necessarily see how those. I do understand why the sales would be different, but that's pretty much been known for years, so they have other ways of making money on that. Shane G said, but I do see that the total sales may not be. Shane G, ACG, thanks for being level-headed on Xbox news. No faux outrage and doom and gloom. Well, no, I mean, I hate what happened, but it's like, I guess it's just after seeing businesses do this in gaming in particular since I started gaming. Old Nintendo threatening Toys R Us and making them try to remove Sega Genesis. Like, I've seen the backhanded shit back and forth, so I see it, feel it, but my visceral reactions for that kind of stuff, they come out. Tyler said Outer Worlds was a fantastic Firefly simulator. I agree with that. That was awesome. So Avowed, I don't know, man. You're into it. I saw the combat. I'm a little pushed back on the combat. I just need to see it. I like the idea. We don't know if it's hub, but I'm assuming it's large hub, right? I'm just assuming.
Not open world. Like larger than Outer Worlds, but not as large as Skyrim or something.
Yeah. Volatile says, I think I'm more excited for Outer Worlds 2 than Avowed because I have a direct reference point. Yeah, that's fair.
That makes sense.
That makes sense. That's completely fair. So anyway, like I was saying real quick, shout out to those devs. Make sure if you follow them, to mention your support, whoever. It's not always just the main company Twitter either. The main company Twitter on big companies is usually run by a community manager who may or may not, obviously, agree with that. But at the end of the day, you may want to find some of the smaller developers, a texture artist who's got one of these games like Dishonored or something on their account, and maybe give them a shout out. It's just sort of the way it is. Juan says, deeply dislike how people say that's the way business is, yet this is not a normal business move with Game Pass in the mix. Well, agree to disagree. I mean, it is business. It is business. Business change depends on every single person involved. So I don't think we can magically say one thing is business and one isn't unless we start pretending that there's some kind of magical cabal in the world. But we could do that. An Illuminati in the world.
The Game-Illuminati.
Lord Comet says, yeah, follow those who are fun. Yeah, and if they're impacted by the layoffs, man, it's best to follow them. Tell them you like their stuff. The thing that we all see with Twitter and all that kind of stuff is a lot of shallow stuff. I've found that if I say, hey, man, I loved your work in this game, particularly this and this and this, the person on the other end of Twitter has a far higher tendency to discuss back and say, because it's not just we're feeling for you. It's like we're feeling for you. And by the way, here's why I loved this. I love that, that kind of stuff. So moving on from there. Lord Comment says, Starfield's hit and miss for me. I think it fell short on its promises, promises it never intended to keep. Yeah, I think it also fell short on promises it never said it was going to track. It's also a long game. Boy, did it age weird. We were talking about this, like No Man's Sky and all these other games in the middle, and I bet you if you were working on Starfield, you're like, oh, loading. Certain things that you see other games do, you're like, oh, damn.
Mm-hmm.
Having a game now, I would like an 18-month, maybe 18 months, maybe 22, 25 month. That'd be 2 years a month. Maybe a 2-year release plan seems smart for a game.
Because development?
Yeah, because
after release, you mean?
No, sorry, I'm saying development exactly as you said. And the reason why I'm saying that is it just seems like because technology moves so quick, that would allow you to capture something you're not. I think loading they should have seen, just because loading is loading.
You'd want like narrower scope a little games.
Yeah, because the idea of, let's say, a 6-year game, Jesus, technology has changed so utterly in 6 years that it's. I mean, imagine you're on your 3rd or 4th year and some tech comes that we're not thinking of. I don't know what it would be, where you suddenly feel archaic. You magically are now archaic in something.
It's a hard problem to solve, actually, because now they're developing the stuff for the next gen, right? They would be starting now. Yeah, and the scopes are just getting bigger and bigger as technology is increasing. But I feel like I don't know what I'd want. I don't know if I'd want narrower scopes, but I definitely want to see lower dev times from things like from companies like Rockstar and Bethesda, the ones that take 8-9 years to release a game. 7, I don't know how long it's been since Red Dead. 7 years. Yeah.
People are talking about 2 people in business talking to each other on Twitter or something like that. That's definitely not things I follow too much. Lord Comment says there's an AI robot out there now, nearly fully sentient. Let's ask this question. What do you guys want to see from Avowed that's new or unique? What would be surprising from Avowed that would cause you to say, all right, this game is offering something that makes me want to jump in? What could Avowed do that, even if it's hub-based, what could it do to make hub-based more engaging or their combat more engaging? I think people were impressed when Avowed first showed its, I think it was CGI trailer, but they showed them drawing magical symbol. Am I wrong on that?
Yeah, yeah. And the first gameplay trailer, like the first trailer where they showed actual gameplay.
Yeah, so if we look at that, maybe that's a situation where if you had some kind of magic system that didn't take a long time, but you can figure out a way to work that. I don't know, man. That's a gamepad, dude. That's a gamepad. Can you like
drawing it on the
drawing
thing,
seems
on the mouse it'd be better, obviously.
On the mouse it would. Yeah. So I have a problem with mouse spell style stuff because that's not the first game to do it. Where I tend to want to be looking around when I'm casting a spell to aim it.
Yeah.
So the idea of pausing so I can go onomatopoeia and cast my little Christ spell, it doesn't seem like it would work out.
I just with the combat, man, I don't know about you, but I just don't like the you can do anything everywhere, dynamically change your whole combat style depending on the situation. I really like the old school, just pick a class. This is what you're good at. You're a mage.
I think there's such a disconnect between the two gamers. A lot of people like a classless system, and it's what engages them. And a lot of people, and I say lot meaning let's pretend there's 4 groups, 25, 25, 25, 25%. There's like class-based, right? And then skill-based, and then nothing-based. You can do anything. And then attribute, or maybe attributes sort of in those. But and I feel like once you find a good example, you want that in everything. I'm trying to think of what I like. So I don't like attributes having to be raised to get skills. So for example, I don't want perception to just be the only way I can get a better ranged ability to shoot a gun.
Right? Like maybe you're less effective.
It can Nah, I don't want a negative. It can bonus it. But I don't want a negative. The reason why is I know many of my friends can shoot insanely well target practice. But if you put them in a battle or hunting, they're a disaster because their brain is seeing trees and grass and fucking shit move, and they can't figure out, but they can shoot targets from very far away. And they're really good at like going to your local shooting range and doing good range shots. So to me, their perception is quite low. I'm just talking about their stat, by the way, Fred. Sorry if you're listening. But his stat for perception is quite low, but his ability to fire is quite high. I think they're trying to mimic combat at all times, so they think they're matched, but I don't know. I don't like the negative. I like it when it plays out role play, though. You know, Fallout, go into 3 intelligence, and you're like, meh, 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 when you talk to people, and
that's
you don't
the best.
That's
or even
the
Outer
best.
Worlds, where you could be dumb as hell.
Yeah.
Plus, I love when the more you do something, the better you get at it. Like Skyrim or Kingdom Come.
Okay, so you like
that system.
activity-based skill upgrades?
My favorite.
I see.
Yeah.
But I have hasn't this happened to you, though? Where you realize at level 30 you need a better mining skill, which you haven't mined, so you spend level 31 doing nothing but mining a rock pile?
Going back to that.
So I totally get what you're saying, but it's, and it's happened to me in so many games where I'm like really good at something, and some enemy or level or story mission will be all, hey, we've lost a trinket. Can you smash these rocks and help us? And your mining level is 1. And you're all, no, this is going to take 10 years. So
gotta
that's
haul
a
my
game
ass
development
back to
thing.
the starting zone. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I guess you can't win. I guess that's just the way that game would play out. Maybe.
It's just with Pillars of Eternity, they had such a cool system. I guess what I'm hoping more is the social things from Pillars of Eternity, more so than the class-based system.
What do you mean by that?
Where any dialogue you choose affects your personality and your alignment and all that stuff. I don't think there was like alignment per se, but it was mostly personality based, where you can be more cocky or more generous or whatever, and that all gets tracked, you know.
Romulus says, how do you think a spell casting game with Helldivers stratagems input mechanic would work? That is awesome. I want to say how much I appreciate that. Because when we were talking about using the mouse to cast, I was going to say button combos, but then I realized, man, would I not like that after a long period of time. Because imagine casting a fireball 1,000 times and it's A, B, X. I would become, I don't know. I think I would, if it was stratagems for super powerful magics, I would like that. You know how Skyrim had screams, shouts?
That sometimes I never used,
Yeah, and here's what my thought process was about that, because that's exactly the thing. It reminds me of Starfield. There's so many Star games. Starfield's the magic that they have. I found myself not hitting the right bumper very often. I think, which was shout on the Xbox. So I was gonna say, but those kind of super powerful things, those I would be okay if you did. So you have, they're more like
an
stratagems,
incantation,
right? Yeah, like a super powerful incantation
ritual.
Would be a button.
I love that.
I would be, that would be awesome. I just don't want to run around and be like A B B B A B B B A. Do you know how fucking tiring? Dude, that would be so tiring. Yeah. Or like a fatality only has you enter it once in an entire match, and so you'll forget it after, like, obviously with memorization you won't. But let's talk about James says Avowed versus Arx Fatalis. I liked that game, but I do understand why so many people go back to it now. It is so rough and so old. It is just so rough and so old that it is hard to go back to these old games, man.
It's easy to go back to Might and Magic, though, for me, personally. Like, I like their physics-based. Might and Magic, which one was
Dark
it? The
Messiah.
one that Arcane released.
Dark Messiah. Kicking people off the cliff and shit.
It feels good to play, honestly. Yeah. But there's a new mod where it completely not remakes it, but remasters it. Makes it look better.
So Juan says, I want a Magicka in HD2 style perspective, so third, where a button opens your grimoire, and then you got a button mash to mix spells. That would be pretty cool, depending on how powerful it was and how fast you could pull those off, and if the mouse, or if the in and out of the grimoire didn't take 45 seconds for him to open the page and flip it. At some point, I'm like, dude, if I'm casting fire spells a lot or something, it should just, maybe you could hot tab it.
Snappy. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Anyway, so terrible times, and then Nintendo does nothing, as always.
Nintendo's just chilling.
And there was that little thing where it's like, in the next certain amount of time, we're going to talk about the Switch 2. I have a feeling with Nintendo anymore, I had to deal with them actively like doing stuff to other companies back in the day. I don't think that discussion will ever happen with Nintendo again for the most part. What I think our discussion might be is what in the hell are they thinking? I just feel like Switch 2's announcement will be excitement as well as one more time of us all going, no connectivity or friends code still, or
friend codes.
It's got a network card or a network chip that costs like 1 cent and can't
Coming
pick
with
up
32
3 feet from a router. Yeah. I'm really excited to see what they do. I'm really excited to see what they do because the competition is out there, and so they see that. And if they, by the way, people say Nintendo does their own thing. They do, but they have to look at technology to do their own thing. It's easy to say this person doesn't care about anything. By de facto saying you don't care about anything, you have to know what you're not caring about. You have to be like, I'm not caring about this, I'm doing this. Nintendo's that way, but they're looking at OLED. Somebody asked me yesterday, I don't know what you think. They said this won't be OLED because how would they resell it to you? Personally, I don't think that's an issue. They'll figure out battery life or something. I think it'll be OLED day one. Do you?
I think it'll be OLED day one, yeah. I don't think they'll go back.
I don't think so either. I think it's better battery life anyway, right? We figured that out. OLEDs are a little bit better.
Maybe that's what they're gonna. The Nintendo-ness is gonna come from. They're gonna be like, hey, this is huge battery life, 12 hours,
dude. That would be. I never thought about that. Imagine this. Imagine it's as powerful. Like it's a step up, right? Imagine it's a step up in those particular places. But they say we know you've been wanting this, blah blah blah, and they post like. Remember when PlayStation first they said go get a second job to pay for your console, and then later they sort of did the friendly thing. But remember when they wrote the number because they found out prehand what the other, and they wrote out the number of what it was going to cost, what the next system, I think it was PS3 at that time. Here's what it's going to cost. Imagine if Nintendo just had a black screen in front of them, and as they're talking, they said, "Oh, and one more thing," and it says 8 hours or something like.
That'd be.
Now we would all say 4 hours at highest. Highest. What do you call it? A battery drain.
Intensity. Yeah.
Dude, I never thought about that. I don't know how they would. The calcium batteries are becoming a thing in science, as in they're scientifically studying it. But I don't think there's true battery tech.
They just have like crazy engineers that optimize the shit out of power consumption.
What if they did this? They draw at 60 frames per second, but you could have a battery sparing mode where it doesn't draw. It draws at 30 frames per second. It flickers the background screen to save you. By the way, I'm just talking about my ass. I'm saying
AI stuff.
I wouldn't like it. It would be dumb, but I could see Nintendo thinking, I don't know why. Just see Nintendo in big brain, their own brain, doing some weird shit. What else? Dock.
What else can they do, right?
Yeah, I mean,
the dock having extra power would be cool.
They could allow for you to take the Joy-Con sticks out and replaceable, like we're seeing with so many new devices now, where they're modules that you pull out.
Especially with their drift,
So imagine a Switch where
better controllers,
hopefully better controllers. What if you could pop that out, put extra buttons in, like we see in some of the Pro controllers that are coming out from third-party companies. Switch. Wow, what if that's what they do? Switch actually has to do with the controllers being modular.
Switch the GPU, switch the CPU.
No, that's what the fuck? That looks like a
forever console
where all
no
the
more
shit
consoles.
just piled up boxes on a camel's back, and you just replace pieces out of your
Switch. The live service
Switch
console, you know what I mean? It'll just stick with you for 20 years. You'll just replace parts.
I love that idea, though.
I
would love I like the idea. You came up with it. What if they if they said it was Switch 2, detachable battery, switchable to higher ones, detachable Joy-Cons, that
solar powered.
No, not so. Dude, I have solar power, and I can tell you, most gamers aren't in the sun long enough in a year to charge their Switch up, let alone while they're on a subway. You're not getting sun while you're sitting in a subway, unless you're holding it up to the window. So but you hit on something, dude. Like, what if they did want to keep the Switch name, and they did? I like the idea of that. I like the idea of it
Didn't
being.
He say Switch's successor? Oh, I guess it could be anything. But like the CEO said, Switch's successor, right?
He did. Yeah.
Maybe it just means any console after the Switch, or maybe it does mean like.
Well, he stated that they're also not looking to just Switch 2. Or Switch 1.5 it. They're doing their own thing, which I like the idea of it. But I like your idea. Imagine, but so you're playing a game and you want, it's a left-right game. It's a Mortal Kombat, and you want 6 buttons on the face. You just pull the thing out. You want to replace your joystick with a longer one, or one of the steering wheel weird ones, accessibility stuff. Touchpad. By the way, I don't like touchpads at all. But a mouse, they have to see Steam and Legion, and what other ones have? A couple have it with the thumb, mouse, basically the haptic thing.
Yeah,
that would be pretty. What if they called it the swap? That's amazing. If they were like, here is the swap. It does sound dirty. Yeah. Speaking of dirty, taking those in and out feels to me like there would be a chance of getting it pretty dirty inside the Switch, the connectors. But I love that. I love the idea of being called Switch 2, and that's their idea. Because I was thinking about the screen. What if they had a screen that was detachable? So you could upgrade screens later on. If they decided to upgrade stuff. I just feel that if Nintendo puts too much switchable stuff, they'll just grift everybody like they have every time. I know people are Switch fans, and I love it. Switch, dude, I really do like the Switch. I really do like a lot of Nintendo games, but talking about companies that do grift the gamer, they are one of them. Comment for the YouTube. Thank you, Mo Tucker. I appreciate it. Lord Comment says, call it the Switcheroo. King Cheese Toast, what's up? He's at work today, stuck. I'll stick around for a bit. Woodpit says, I'm wondering if these upcoming handheld devices will have cellular capability, one device to rule them all. You mean like a phone? Come on. I had to engage. Nobody wants that. Roduku says, will it have a VRR screen? I think a VRR screen makes sense for them to get away from the exact frame rate stuff, 60, 30. I don't love that they use it because they can't get a game running at 60, but VRR, when you do have a slightly lower frame rate, hey, that's sort of the way it is. That does help. Let's see. Fitness Mad says more power HDR support and better online features. Yeah, anybody in chat, if you have an idea for what you would like to see on the Switch 2, let's go for it. Write it in chat. I'd like to read it. Sicilian Gamer says Nintendo are going to grift for sure, but they're going to put out more high-quality first-party exclusives than anyone else.
That is true. They do that. They are the most...
Well, they had... I don't believe they do all the time, but last year
90%, except Pokemon.
Last year they platinumed.
Yeah, that's true.
They rocked last year. Yeah. But I also don't go back and, count up. I know last year was the highest ever for third-party AAA games rated above a certain amount, but it's weird when you have everybody saying they don't care about reviews. Even in a review channel, people say that, and then turn around and spout some review number.
Same thing with the Game of the Year awards, man. Everybody says they don't care, but they
we had a long discussion just about that yesterday, where these guys will complain about every single person that votes for Game of the Year, and then they will be like, with bated breath, watching Game of the Year. And which is weird, because the Game of the Year is not connected to the industry. It's just people out there that they've chosen to call it Game of the Year, which is why we have the new companies trying to start up their own little mini game awards, because there isn't... You can't say this is the Oscars, now these are the buds, and we're just doing our own. It's because those guys are actually invested and ingrained in the industry, even though there's some issues there. But with our current one, it's literally just some people who got together and said, let's just do a Game Awards. It's weird.
The first one who called themselves Game Awards, so others had to take on
Best Gaming Podcast.
Best Gaming Podcast.
Got to deal with it.
It's ours.
Let's see. The Game Slave says magnetic Joy-Cons and the ability to play OG Switch games. If they don't have backwards compatibility, they're in deep shit.
They will. They will for sure have backwards compatibility. 100%. Mark my words.
You're making a bet on that? I don't think anybody would make a bet against you on that.
No,
I think that it makes sense to have it. Let me get a battery for my headphone. It just beeped. Also, when you look at the Switch 2, so the big question is, of course, the cartridges, because they are notorious for being expensive and having the Switch tax. So I wonder how they're going to handle that. Like,
how much can they store?
Well, the new ones can store a ton, because you could just do mini. The mini I have for the Legion's like a terabyte or something. But they're not super uber fast. All they need to do is load that game into the memory.
Yeah. They need an SSD, right? Yeah, they do need like a
I can
NVMe
still hear you.
or something.
I'm just doing this.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think
like
its RAM is going to be? 32 minimum. 32.
RAM?
Yeah.
What are consoles at with RAM? I thought they were 16.
Consoles adjust their RAM with their OS. They update, what's usable RAM for the game, what's usable system RAM for the game. But I just think a handheld 32 seems, because you're also loading that. You're trying to load as much into the RAM when you're playing the game.
For sure, yeah.
VRAM being separate than RAM. So that's the thing, is it'll be an APU where it's going to be all merged together. A little bit weird, a little bit different than what you and I have on a PC, where you have your own system set up. The Game Slave says Nintendo's done backward compatibility with the Wii, multiple Game Boys, and the DS, so I'm confident they'll do it.
Yeah, plus the Wii U, the only one they didn't really do it. Well, they didn't do it with the GameCube, obviously, because they switched to discs. But the Wii U wasn't huge in the market share, so I don't think the Switch did insanely well, and a lot of people have Switches and a huge library.
Yeah, the Switch did insanely well. Some people are saying that it's going to be smaller. They're thinking 12 or 16. I can see that. I'm just saying what I hope. I hope it's 32.
Yeah.
I don't want a handheld device that isn't upgradable, like Abzi said, with different fucking cartridges you stick on the back. And I don't want to see a memory card, but the competition and then games, Unreal, and those games as we move into the future. But they are hitting a 1080p screen, so there is some diminishing returns for sure. So I could see that. Maybe I'm just a tech head and want a little bit more than we should have. Yeah. Soul Sleeper says they will have backwards compatibility by using Yuzu as the emulator on the Switch too. Boy. That turned into a thing. I still firmly, just internally in my brain, believe that they did crack down on backwards or they did crack down on
Zelda
on compatibility. No, emulators. My belief is they crack down on emulators because Switch 2 will be backwards, and they don't want people playing on PC. They want them playing on their Switch. That's just me being a conspiracy theorist, and we've got enough in here. I guess I don't need to say that, but I just think in my brain that seems like a valid, valid thought process. Well, it's Nintendo's let these go for how long, man?
Yeah, that's true.
And then suddenly they're like, that was the other joke. Did Nintendo just figure out emulators out of their own systems was a thing?
They're
slow.
90s, man. They're closed off to the rest of the world.
What if somebody, like some secretary, was just helping them out one day, and she's like, well, what do you think about this emulator? And they're like, ours?
They're like, what?
Ours? Can you? No, I love the incredulous. What? Yeah. And you're all, dude, this has been around for what? And they're just completely shocked by it. Somebody gets his Apple II and he's like trying to get to the internet, and they're like, no, man, you can't use that to get to the internet. You got to use your phone. Which is weird that Nintendo's so backwards, but they live in Japan, one of the major places where tech is so highfalutin and personal tech, cell
Wait
phones.
Till they see how PSN works or Xbox Live,
Yeah, they're like, are you? I just love the idea of just
codes?
this cry. What?
You don't have to use a phone to voice chat?
Yeah. What are you talking about? What's an emoticon? Cobra 1297 super chat. Do you think Helldivers 2 will be able to rebuild the community goodwill? Yes, but here's what I believe, as evidenced even by our chat with other companies. Gamers have a memory that exists because of the internet as well as their own hate. I do as well for companies, and it will never be forgotten. I will tell you that. It will be it'll be a black mark, depending on how hard you make the mark, really.
And the sad part is I think a lot of people probably piled on and did the reviews, and now they're not going to go back and change it because they just went in and did the review, and they don't care to go back.
Yeah, and we know how that works, right? Effort with anger is, angry. No, effort with anger. Angry. Oh, it sounds the same, but that is what it is. You're right. It goes away when the situation's fixed, and the chance of them going back is lower. Kasiri says, since nothing's really been going on in the news recently overall, any lukewarm general opinion on most things gaming related, vague answers are welcome. Thank you, and have a normal rest of your week. I believe most of that was just teasing that nothing had happened this week. Is there anything in gaming that we do have general opinions about? Any random titles that have released? Any other non-big,
like this week?
Yeah, or any other gaming news that slipped because this was such a massive problem that occurred with Sony and with Microsoft? Any other news that has
This
popped?
week, I mean, Hades 2 came out in early access. It's pretty good.
True, and doing quite well, right?
Yeah, and has a lot of content apparently. It has more content than the full Hades 1 released game. I played a little. I think I'm gonna wait now. Apparently, they expect it to come out in 2025, but they can't say for sure. They're just saying at least until the end of 2024. Another game came to closed beta today called Arena Break. Listen to this name, Arena Breakout Infinite. Isn't it such an amazing name?
Wait, are you talking
Arena
about the toy
Breakout-
game?
It's a Tarkov clone.
Oh, Tarkov clone. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it's a primarily a mobile game which is called Tarkov Arena, and now they're porting it to PC. Now the mobile game is completely pay to win. You can buy the in-game currency, but you don't have to. Like, you could earn it in game or whatever. I don't know if they will restrict the PC, the PC pay to win mechanics or not.
All right, and here's something. EA during their announcements. This is from Eurogamer. It says EA has 2 unannounced games to launch this year. One is Dragon Age Dreadwolf.
Oof. This year? No. Well, when are they? They're doing the announcement thing in the summer, right? Yeah, they're showing a lot of the game in the summer. I think in May
maybe
or June.
so. That just seems out of the blue. Speaking out of the blue, the other one, EA also in the same thing stated that they are amassing the largest Battlefield team in franchise history to double down on live service multiplayer. They also stated that main CEO said he had played the new Battlefield, and it's going to be the largest service game or something to that effect of all time.
Yeah, tremendous service game. Yeah, but dude, imagine the Dragon Age comes out, or they've looked at Baldur's Gate 3 and how well it did, and Dragon Age comes out and it's so good. It's as good as like Dragon Age Origins, and it's like CRPG and stuff. Imagine that happens.
Did you smoke pot prior to the podcast? Or are you doing it now?
Dude,
Sorry.
Just imagine a world.
I'll be all for it. You know me. I mean, I've been wrong before, and something's been great when I've touched it. I just haven't seen anything about that game, and so my last memory is Inquisition, which wasn't horrible. It was just
okay.
not. It was a lot of not great. Let's see. The other
Battlefield,
is
though,
go ahead.
Like they did work a lot on 2042. You know what I mean? Obviously, and they did. I think they do see that players want a return to form. You know, that's why they probably added the old maps and the old mechanics to that game mode. You know, but you never know, dude. You never know.
Right.
They never seem to give you what you want with that title.
It's just one of those things. Yeah. I feel like their games are always that way. But Burnsy says, I read that Shadow of the Erdtree DLC will feature a leveling system like Sekiro, meaning your existing high-level character won't make much difference. Having not played Sekiro, could you explain how that would work? Can you explain that? Because I'm not quite sure what that means.
I read about that. Miyazaki was in an interview or something. So apparently, after you defeat Mog and you can get into the DLC, there'll be a separate progression. So no matter how overpowered you are going into it, it does count a little bit, but enemies will still be difficult. But there will be a separate progression system where you're from what I know, from what I read, is that you'll be able to, for example, increase your attack power, just like in Sekiro, where you can get these things that you can just upgrade your attack to do more damage. So that's like a separate entire progression system within the actual DLC. So you're going to start off still fairly weak, and depending on how much you explore, you're going to get stronger or not as strong, because they don't want people to go in super overpowered into the DLC.
So
especially
I think
if you're
that's
in like New Game Plus.
And do you think that's in some way their desire to push players to go back, to make it easier for players to go back? Then is that the thought process?
I think the thought process is twofold. Yeah, like I said, like they didn't want people to be super overpowered going into the DLC, and it's for characters that, you know, a lot of people have characters that are in like New Game Plus like 8 or 9, and they're, you know, I don't know, level 400, 300. I don't know what level you are at that New Game Plus, but when you know, you don't have to make a whole new character just to level up and get to the DLC, so you could just use your original character and it'll still be challenging. You know, that's what I think.
Dude, I'm just in a the idea of getting good enough, because I haven't played it since, and I really enjoyed it, and I feel like I got my time out of that game. But I do want to experience the DLC, but jumping back into let's say a mid-level DLC in that game and trying to remember even how the systems work is not super high on my list. And just like I love the idea, but man, those are harder games for me to enjoy their DLC, and it's been that way since the very first Dark Souls. It's been that way for Surge 2.
I've never
is
played
one of the very few
a DLC by them. I've never actually played a From Software DLC. I heard the Bloodborne one is really, really good. The Dark Souls 3 one is really... I played mods. I played like overhaul mods.
And don't they have a couple for 3? I feel like 3 had like
2?
Maybe did the mini one and then a normal expansion. I can't remember. It's been a while, but
yeah. I remember something like that. But I hear always that content is usually harder than the base game. That's something I do hear.
Man, rewards those people going in, but boy, does it make it hard to go back. Like if you just like
especially
for
if
me,
you play a lot of games. I mean, you're a reviewer. You play so many games.
And I don't even me. There's a couple games I stick to later that I even maybe didn't review, but not many. I mean, I'm playing games all the time, but the idea of going back to those kind of games, I'm not really a grinder on a Dark Souls style game. It's like fun. Remnant 2 is fantastic, but do I just sit there and grind with friends when there is no content right out at that moment? No. It's not, and it's not hard or anything. I'm just coming up with a game that it isn't hard. I return to a division, and even in that, it takes a little while to get accustomed to what goes where. Did I just,
especially if you're at max level and you have like 20,000 things going on,
or they do max level with prestige and then gold, and then and you're like, okay, I'm a gold prestige level 30 character, but the gun is level 6. Why? And then you find out
no AI thing.
Yeah, sorting.
Or
you can be like,
that can
tell you what things are. Could you remind me what in the fuck is going on in this game? Let's see. Some people seem to be pretty excited for Dreadwolf, so that's cool. Rodaka says, I wasn't being dismissive saying that's cool. I'm just saying it is cool to see people excited for it. Rodaka, says, I in in leaks Dreadwolf can't even control party members in combat. Doesn't sound good to me. I think BG3 ate its lunch more than a year earlier.
Damn, I hope
I don't compare. Okay, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I just hope you can. No, I'm sorry. I was just saying. I hope you can control your team. That's like it's like a big thing in Dragon Age.
Yeah, and I don't know why. Just to me, I don't know at all why BG3 being an amazing game, it's got some issues, but it's an amazing game, would somehow eat the lunch of a completely different game in a world that's going to be different with different.
Coming out a year later.
That doesn't. Yeah, that does. I don't. I mean, it might feel creakier. It might feel like but yeah, I guess I don't think that way. Otherwise, I'd still be playing Operation Flashpoint. I wouldn't play any other shooter ever. I would just be like, well, I've played the game I like. I'm never, it like, because eat their lunch seems like stole their shit. Yeah.
Right.
Sailor Mercury, though, says something that sort of speaks to that. I never controlled anyone other than my character in any of the Dragon Age games. I did mess around in Inquisition and jumped in. I thought Inquisition was cool because it felt like you could be the other character classes if you didn't want to. Baldur's Gate does that. Many games that let you sort of take control. There's a positive there. But, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess I just don't think that way. Did you guys talk about Hades 2 dropping on Steam yet? Yes, we did. Other than to say, well, we did. But, I mean, what's there to say? It's doing really well. It seems like everybody's really excited. Destiny 2, people are saying they're excited that there's some new stuff coming or has come out for Destiny 2. That's a game I don't track anymore at all.
I just know from my dad because he's going on vacation on June or something. It's coming out June 3rd or 4th, right? My dad's going on vacation, and he's like, oh, the second day on vacation, and so he's taking his PS5 with him and stuff like that, so you could get in on the DLC.
This says EA is considering in-game advertising, but will take a thoughtful approach. I think in-game advertising is coming. Did you see the new YouTube update that they're trying to push out, which is that if you pause YouTube, it can play ads?
Yeah, what the fuck, dude? What the fuck is that?
That was pretty crazy. I was like, first of all, I don't pause a ton, but I certainly do pause. But the idea that, let's say I pause and it does the ad, that really means nothing. Because, as in, I could purposely just pause like it feels like the advertisers themselves would be all, well, we're not going to pay you near as much for that ad because we have no clue if a person's pissing and doesn't hear. I don't know. God, can you imagine?
Worst.
Like if you pause it because you need to answer the phone, and it's like, do you want to buy,
Oh my God.
Male diapers? And you're like, dude, I was talking on the phone with this girl, man. What are you doing? You're screwing me over here.
Targeted ads.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of any of that kind of stuff. I don't mind in-game ads. Not in-game ads. I do mind in-game ads. I don't know how I said that.
Product placement.
I don't mind having a Pepsi instead of Coca-Cola, and you're looking at it going, come on. But
I don't care
no
about
one
that.
can just do it thoughtfully, and then other people's ideas are it can't be done ever. And so I get both sides of that. I personally
you can do it in a smart
don't
way,
have too
right?
much of an issue.
It can be more immersive if it's like GTA and you see real
If I'm driving in
companies
GTA and I see fake ads, I love them. But sometimes you do see non-fake ads in GTA where they're just trying to fill
so if they
spots.
Mix the two, it'll
if
be
they
jarring.
mix the two, yeah. But I get it. I get why people are worried, because if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile.
Do you think GTA will finally have actual cars, like actual car companies?
Bro, this is so weird. We just talked about this in chat, and I don't know. That came up in the voice chat yesterday, where we're like, what about Ferrari? So here's the thing. I think they would be so nervous about losing the IP later because all the racing games have to pay continually. So I just feel like it would not work. Can you imagine? So we've seen racing games cancel, and you find out later it's because they pay for the product placement of Ferrari and all this, and they're not getting a return. So they're like, okay, I don't think they're dumb enough to do that. Or it's not dumb enough. First of all, I don't think they want to spend the money on it, but custom or car customizations and stuff, they can do weird shit that you wouldn't see on a Lambo. They'll just fake Lambo. They'll just fake it.
This is going to sound like a really dumb question, but why do they have to pay a lot of money for placing real cars in their games? Isn't it, I mean, I know everyone in the world knows what Ferrari is, so they don't need more advertisement, but isn't it just kind of going both ways?
Tit for tat, right?
Just like tit for tat?
That's exactly what I thought. And
because GTA is massive.
But there's a difference. Utility versus display. So if you display something, it can be considered an advertisement. If I display Coca-Cola on a billboard, if I drive a Coca-Cola car, you are then representing and you have utility in that. And Penty does a little bit of this in our Discord. He does a little bit of like understanding companies and what they can do. But there are all these bylaws, man, of like what is considered display and not interactive, what is considered changeable and you're in it, and that is considered a whole next level. That was an issue in the past for sure. Remember, games didn't have. There would be a game after destruction was done, and then another game would not have destruction. You'd be like, why? And you'd be like, oh, because the car developer, one of the car groups they wanted to get was like, we don't want you showing a destroyed Ford in your game, and it's like, why don't they? I mean, especially like Crash and Burn, Burnout, or whatever. They see it light on fire. Maybe they thought people would think that was real or something, but that's gone.
Damn.
And then GameSlave says GTA has zero need to partner with any real car companies. It'd be cool, but their homemade vehicles already do the job. Yeah, exactly. I think they fake everything. They do such a good job. Yeah. Everything is faked really well in GTA. I don't see any need, and I think they can play with it.
Yeah, there's no need
too. Like if they want to call the car the Trash, Meister 71. They can do it, and there's no worry of anything else. So, let's see. Nissan has ads in Quantum Break.
Really? Damn.
I wasn't aware of that.
I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember that.
And then Oregon Fresh says that seems backwards. I would think companies would want their products and games for advertisement. Exactly, different styles of advertisement and different representation, I think, is how they do it. But I like the idea of them sticking to their own thing. GTA is good for that. I also like it when you play Borderlands and they have fake. I don't want to hear about arms tech.
Companies.
Cool. I want them to do the buffoonery that they do. And they just throw shit out there. Let's see. Eternal says it's funny when GTA does a joke ad mocking real brands. Yeah,
does that work the same way with gun manufacturers? If you wanna the utility of guns in your games, do they pay for that? Like,
yeah, they would pay for they would pay for if that company desire. You can't put, because it's a trademarked thing, and you can't just throw a trademarked thing in your game. But I think there's probably a billion ways in which it's much easier than cars for those kind. And probably they're a small company, and they're like, yeah, we'd love to have it in there. I mean, Tarkov probably has all real gun names and stuff. I would assume a lot of that is also public domain.
Yeah, all of these new clones have like the Zenit RK handles, and they have like the same Voodoo scope, and they're all real attachments. So I was wondering, like,
different companies ask for different things, man. You know, for example, if you were misrepresenting them and you had it in there, there's probably a chance they could come and say, let's say you had a gun and they just decide it's going to jam all the time.
Yeah.
Or something. I'm just saying off the top of my head, if I was the gun maker and that was not true, I'd probably be, if that game became popular, I'd be like, dude, you're just saying these guns jam a lot. Like, what are you doing? Like, it's people are talking about it as if it's real, which we all know it may not be real, but that's just how the world works, where some people think it's real. Oregon Fresh says NBA 2K is the worst in many ways. I think he means for ads and stuff. That shit was popping up. Those ads were popping in all the time. Live ads in the middle of your replay or whatever that was doing. Lord says Remedy was doing ads in the games. So did Death Stranding, right? Death Stranding had Monster.
Was huge until halfway through the game, it just gets replaced by another thing. I guess their thing ran out because you get a mission to like help a beer farm or whatever, and then it's all beer.
Oh, smart. I get what you're saying. So then then those are replaced. As I drink one right now, that was not even timed. I think I just got thirsty when you talked about it. So you're saying you help a guy who's like small or whatever, help him figure out his beer dispensary or whatever, and then from that point on, that's what you're drinking?
Yeah,
the skin replaces? Smart.
Yep.
Smart.
Yep.
See? I like that. For example, this would never happen. But somebody just said Pizza. Imagine Pizza Hut in GTA, but then you help somebody in a mission to get their pizza joint opened by fighting off some gangs in the area, and suddenly Pizza Hut ads are replaced by, most
they took
pizzas.
Over the market.
That would be pretty cool. That would, or it could go the opposite way, and you try to fight off Pizza Hut as some evil gang. Man, remember in there's some words I'm not going to say, but there were some terms that Pizza Hut, Domino's had. Slang terms for their, that are really dirty. But I like the idea of an Illuminati pizza place in GTA, and you're trying to stop an evil corporate, lord from taking over all the small ones.
I'd be okay with real, kind of some maybe if they parody it and they let them, do like something stupid. You know what I mean? Like a Subway.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. That's the thing, right? Even us, even people in the chat. Even normal gamers, we all have a tendency to become super serious and then stick with it. It's like sometimes it is just freckle bitches instead of Wendy's in Saints Row, I think.
Yeah.
That's Saints Row, right? The idea of just teasing it directly is the funny thing. It's like satire can be in games that don't necessarily require it, but I think that people get too serious about it sometimes. I don't mind the real world places showing up in Crazy Taxi. Well, yeah, Crazy Taxi is also just one thing and one song. Yeah.
It's a good ass game.
It's a good game, but man,
speak about narrow scopes.
That's exactly what I was going to say. That thing is dialed in. It's like checking a prostate, man. It's like going nowhere but that one spot all the time. Oh, God, people are talking about Illuminati. They're saying game, not in a bad way. Game Slave says, put an addictive drugs in the pizza to keep customers coming back, and then you can either stop them or help them. Yeah. Damn. I like the idea. I think that would be funny. I think that...
I loved Martin Shkreli and fucking... That was funny as hell. And what was it? Watch Dogs 2.
He took the piss out of that one.
Yeah. Wu-Tang Clan.
What a POS. So
funny, yeah. What a fucking guy.
Man. So, that was... It not only POS, but the world should have been able to stop that. There should have been ways to go before it ever happened. And
he did a pump and dump on a coin as well. And then he was like, "Oh, I opened a torrent and it hacked my PC and all the money is gone."
Pump and dump is always such a weird situation because it's all pump and dump until it's not.
Yeah.
You know, it's like until its utility becomes in some way fruitful, it's all really just a bunch of people talking about it until it becomes a thing, Dogecoin and all that stuff. It's but of course, I think we can all agree, you know, scheduled planning on purpose. Yeah, that's obviously a nefarious thought process. Yep. All pump, no dump. Eternal says Pop-Tarts is just did a funny tie-in with Unfrosted where they institute that Seinfeld used their original story without permission, so their CEO steals his characters and does stand-up in his place. That is a long, drawn-out explanation for something I do not understand. I don't know what Unfrosted is. Do you mean Unfrosted Pop-Tarts? Or is Unfrosted a cartoon or show?
Used their origin story, used Unfrosted's origin story without permission, so their CEO steals his characters and does stand up in his place. What is that's a crazy sentence.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. Weird. Oh, it's a movie. Thank you. It's a movie. So, and then looking at other my dogs agree. Looking at other game news, I would say, has Diablo 4 fixed itself? Has Diablo 4 become I don't know, because I see people talking about it. I see these other stuff coming out, prepared roadmaps, and I don't track it enough. But I was just wondering if Diablo 4 is now.
Well,
I'm not saying it wasn't solid day one, but you know what I mean.
Obviously, Lucitan's saying no, but they would have to, because Path of Exile 2
I don't trust Lucitan at all. Like, not in this discussion whatsoever. But what were you saying?
But Path of Exile 2 is coming out soon, and they definitely have to step it up before then, at least, if it didn't already fix itself.
Yeah. Roadmaps are
big
meaningless.
Changes on May 14th. Okay, true. We all know May 14th. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
May 14th.
May the 14th.
It's going to be a busy month for games that are like updating, because there isn't a ton of huge games. You got Homeworld, and you have Hellblade, and you have a couple others. You have the remake of Mario. What is that one? The 1,000-year door.
1,000-year door. Yeah, I'm excited for that one. I haven't
so you have
that
those
one.
kind of things.
Yeah, I want the N64 one, man. But anyways, yeah, I'm excited.
You want the N64 one? What do you mean by that?
The N64 Paper Mario was my favorite. But yeah, today also V Rising came out.
Yeah, V Rising. Anybody in chat do V Rising yet? And at 1.0, because it's it's still sort of hasn't connected in my brain for that game. I watched some people playing it, and I've seen more people playing it today, and it's not doing it for me, man. I don't know. Why do you like it? Like, if I said, why do you like V Rising? Go.
It's a good question. Well, first of all, it's a vampire game, and there's not a lot of vampire games in school where you have to dodge the sun and all that stuff, stay in the shadows, role play as a vampire. But the biggest thing for me personally is that they nailed. They had a game before this. I forgot what it was. Was it Battle Right? Battle Right is another one. It was a game where it was basically like a top down kind of like League of Legends, but only in an arena where you just fought other people, and they nailed the combat of that. And they also translated it to the vampire game, where you can get a lot of skills and stuff, and there's a lot of skill expression. There's not a lot of survival games that have good combat. Most of them have very, very janky combat, and this one really nails that aspect.
Didn't sell me
and really good progression systems and stuff, and you explore and fight bosses and dungeons and get more powers and all that stuff.
What's a game where you're like me right now, where it doesn't matter what somebody says, your brain doesn't engage with that content? What's a game that no matter what, even if it's the world or even if it's just a few of your friends who love a game, is there a game that no matter what people say, you look at it or you play it even and it nothing?
Yes.
What?
Outer Wilds. I wish I can love it.
No,
I wish I can
agree.
love it.
Dude,
I want to know. I want
that is
to. I want
such a
to
good
love
answer.
it. Everyone says
such...
it's like the best thing that I wish I could forget and replay, and was an incredible experience. And I play a couple hours and I just can't.
That is one of the best answers, because it's not just you. This comes up in our chats all the time, where somebody will say Outer Worlds, and they'll be like, oh, I loved Outer Worlds. And they'll be like, oh, actually I meant Outer Wilds. And be like, oh, I didn't get it. I don't know what it is with that game, but that is a absolutely valid answer that has popped up. Dude, you are not alone. Like there is I feel like there's almost a larger group of people going, huh? Than there is the group who like it. It is definitely that type of game.
I want to like it.
People are saying noped out of that. Destiny games for the Head Smiter. You got a cool name for a shooter, though. So the fact that you don't like Destiny is that's sort of different. Fitness says, I tried Outer Wilds so many times, just can't get into it. Hollow Knight is another one. Ooh, Hollow Knight. I could see Hollow Knight for sure popping up in a lot of people's list.
I enjoyed Hollow Knight, but I didn't find it this wowing as much as it was. Like I preferred Ori, actually.
The Deagle says Warzone. What one's that? But Call of Duty Warzone?
Call of Duty Warzone, probably, right?
Okay.
My buddies got me on. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched a bunch of people stream it, and I watched people playing it, and it looked like it could be interesting, but it wasn't offering anything I didn't feel I could get 90% in a game that looked more appealing. But I would agree with, Warzone was that way. Huh. Outer Wilds, man. Dude, that's perfect answer. I don't even know of another
those types of games where you're just thrown in and you explore and do puzzles and find out what's going on. I love that type of game. I just don't know. Maybe it's the way you fly into, like, I didn't like the flying in space, but it's.
I think the other thing with Outer Wilds is there's many other games, like you said, that you like that are in that genre or whatever. But for whatever reason, and it's not like a Disco Elysium where it's weird and there's no narrator until they patched it, and there's a bunch of there's things that I could see somebody looking and going, that's not for me. With Outer Wilds, it's pretty tepid. It's not necessarily like going out there and saying, this is us. It's just like, hey, here's our game. And for whatever reason, the majority of people I know are like, that did not work for me at all. It just, it was boring.
And you never know. I mean, dude, Pillars of Eternity took me 5 or 6 tries for me to love it. I mean, I didn't really get into it a few times, and then something just clicked, and I was like, oh, this is my favorite CRPG.
But you don't remember that little like burn in the back of your neck when you realize you're liking something? Because I definitely get a tingle. Yeah, I don't know how to describe it, but I'll be playing a game and being somewhat into it, and then one moment out of the blue, my brain will be like, oh,
I remember exactly that moment.
What was it?
It was you were I forgot if it was like, were they chapters or something? It was something with a 6, chapter 6 or something, and there's like a trial happening, and the music was playing, and the dude said something really cool, or said like had a speech, and it was like a crazy moment, and the music just played in so well with that, like it was timed so well. And that was the moment where I was like, wow, this game is intense. Like, this game is really, really cool. It was like a point in the story where I was like it like engulfed my world, basically. Yeah.
I don't know why it happens, but I'll be reviewing a game, and I know the starting's good or whatever, but it's not grabbing me. And then, there'll be that. And I get a physical like response it's happened so many times. Doesn't mean the game will stay good, but randomly I can feel it. And I'm like, oh,
my face flushes.
Yeah, you get an actual thing where you're like, I sort of, this groove feels good, or this thing, and now I sort of understand this thing made this change. This works here, and then suddenly it's like a feeling to you.
I love those moments. Yeah.
I tried getting into this is cheesy. I tried to get into Sea of Thieves 5 times because a friend's combat gave me hemorrhoids. No, it was you sitting that gave you hemorrhoids, but I could see that with Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves is a very light game.
Yeah.
Or at least in that part of it. Lord Drifter says, is Pillars good? Never tried. Is it similar to Baldur's Gate? It is. Yeah, it's similar. What's the other one I liked? The where you're the bad guy. I always forget.
Tyranny.
What'd you say?
Similar to Tyranny.
Tyranny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. For some reason, I can't like Final Fantasy VII Remake. Did we talk about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth selling less than Remake?
That's weird. That's crazy. Is the PS5
Dude,
market
it's so
out there?
odd to me because Final Fantasy VII Remake is good and enjoyable. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is great and enjoyable and has some quality of life fixes, some other fixes. Still got issues, but I'm really stunned at that because it feels like every single thing. And by the way, I'm sure the company's stunned at it. Truly stunned at the sales, and that makes me wonder. Like, what are we going to see? What are they going to do? Are they going to change anything?
Maybe they won't do exclusivity anymore.
It's been brought up that could be it. I don't know, man. But I find it weird, man. I find it.
got
Roy says,
burnt
was it the
on 16
pandemic
as
that
well.
caused it?
Huh. I mean, the pandemic did change a lot of things. A lot more people have PCs now as well, and a lot of more people are willing to wait.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. I couldn't get into BG3, the pandemic. Dylan says Rebirth is a direct sequel, not on PS4. Not on PS4 is a very good point. This is why companies do not want to leave a console behind. Everybody gets so mad about it, and I'm like, dude, the companies, why aren't you taking full advantage of this new system? And it's like, because the old system has the entire vested community. And in fact,
yes, sir.
even if you have the new one, let's say it wasn't backwards compatible, there's a high chance you kept the old one, and they can still sell to that group.
And if you really want Ragnarok probably did so well, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Came out on PS4 as well.
Dude, yeah, that's a really good point. That's a really good point about that one. I mean, it is a good point, but it also didn't sell near as well as some other I don't know. Like, that is for sure 100% a big cause of it. But there are other games that have been PS5 specific that I feel have sold better than I would expect a Final Fantasy VII exclusive to do. I love the games. $5 super chat. What's up, buddy? I gave Starfield a second try and something's finally clicking, but I still wish the space flight was more fluid. Any idea what DLC will bring? Hi, by the way. Yeah, what's up, man? Also, thanks as always for the ideas on what I should do with. We had a rat here, and he's a bug. He's a bug catcher or a bug killer, pest killer.
Oh,
and he
like a
helped me
literal
with
rat.
ideas. Yeah, we did. Yeah, we had a rat. I think that it just got in under. It was in one of the edge of the houses, and he was
I thought
helping
you were
me
talking
take
about
care
like
of
a
it.
dude who ratted you out or something.
No, he's not a rat.
Okay.
Starfield's DLC, we know it's changing some of the, not necessarily core mechanics, but we know it's changing some of the mechanics. There's I think they've stated that it involves a certain group of one of your party members. I don't want to speak too openly about that because I don't know how much is out there. And it's not secret what I'm saying. I just said, if you asked me, I'm not going to tell you the wrong data. I don't know. I would love to see a new party member. I would love to see party members react in in-game plus in a different way than they do in 1. I think that would be fun. Hard to do, but fun. Building systems get more fixes, ship stuff. Some more fixes are coming to ships, and they said later a car, which I think is very interesting because I personally do not desire a car in that. I still do travel and explore, but the idea of having a car just is really confusing to me. Really confusing. But thank you very much. Appreciate it. Oregon Fresh says, I think Rebirth will do pretty well when it hits PC. Yeah, but here's the thing. Even if it does pretty well, that's still lost sales that haven't been accrued on the current system. That's the question mark. But I agree with you. On PC, it'll probably do fine. Roy says, I haven't got to Rebirth because Final Fantasy 16 is so dang long.
Rebirth is longer.
Rebirth is 10 times longer.
Yeah,
dude.
If
he's like looking at 16 thinking, man, that's a pretty big game. Well, Rebirth, you might as well rent out your own like home somewhere because,
man,
dude, there were people in the chat that were telling me the hours they had on Rebirth, and I was like, damn.
Yeah,
and
that's
just
110 hours to just.
It's people just having a good time in it. So even though I enjoyed it, I wouldn't do that much. But the idea that they're having a good time, I celebrate. I'm like, that is amazing that you got that many hours out of it. But if you're getting that many out of 16, which isn't as flexible, prepare your ass because it's going to be a long time.
Yakuza players will like Rebirth mostly.
Yep, there is some overlap. 100% overlap. Like, but I think I know what you're saying is overlap, which is also a staple of Final Fantasy Forever, which is mini games too. Right.
It has been. It was in the original as well. They had a lot of mini games, but I'm saying like right now, some people expressed dislike with that aspect of the game and said there were too many mini games. I think Yakuza players like me, I loved almost every mini game.
Yeah. Let's see. Eternal says Square's been making so many catastrophic mistakes lately. Like EA, I don't know how they will stay afloat, although EA at least has sports games to milk. Have they? I mean, I'm not saying they haven't. I know they have, but I just don't remember too many. Or try not to sit on them. But I definitely know they have. Mass Produced says Rise of Ronin 110 hours.
that's how long it took
that was
me
my
to do
3
the
seconds of silence for those hours
110
gone.
hours.
I'm
Oh,
just
Rise of
joking.
Ronin. Oh, never mind.
Rise of
Rebirth
Ronin.
140 hours. Holy shit. Okay, Rise of Ronin. Damn.
Yeah.
Damn, son.
Was not expecting that, but hey, Rebirth 140 was expecting that.
Yeah. Rebirth for me took 110 hours. I
110?
didn't do the hard. Yeah, but there's new things in hard mode as well. Like even, I won't spoil, but there are new things in hard mode, but I don't have interest in doing New Game Plus or anything.
That's what I liked about Stellar Blade, man. They did that patch and they added a bunch of stuff. So
that's cool.
It's pretty cool. A lot of people are playing Stellar Blade still and really enjoying it. And there's a lot of good actual combat and good not exploration per se. I should take that part back, but more along the lines of a reason to do the hard mode if you want to, or the extra difficulty. There's something there that isn't just like, N plus kind of thing where everybody's just a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Looking at other news, Call of Duty adds DLC that supports military fans. That's very cool. Speaking of Call of Duty, we're going to get this new Xbox/Activision event, and they're going to show off the new Call of Duty. Is there anything in Call of Duty? Let's be honest. We know for the most part it's going to feel the same. But is there anything in a new Call of Duty you would like to see?
Like my ideal?
Yeah, like any adjustments, would you like to see, going to a certain place, handling something different in the gameplay?
I would love an actually interesting, bigger campaign.
Yeah, that's mine. That's
kind of a return to form to that.
I feel like I threw you a softball because that's so easy to.
That was an easy one, yeah.
That's a pretty big.
I mean, I would love it to have a bit more realistic movement, but that's not going to happen. I think it's going to stay super arcadey.
Oh, I see what you're saying. A little bit more momentum and weight to characters.
Yeah, I would love to keep seeing. I mean, I don't know. I haven't played COD in a while, but one of my favorite things about COD were the gun progression systems, where you could do challenges with different guns to unlock attachments, and then, customize your gun, pimp your ride. I love that always. And I don't know, man. I feel like they've been stagnant. I'm kind of bored unless they change a lot in the gameplay.
What do you guys in chat want? The first post, or one of the first ones, says, I want to play the story without having to download 115 gigabytes of data.
True.
Yeah. I don't care about this game size too much, but I get that thought process that if you're not downloading, if they do offer separates, then just friggin', do that, but don't combine them all and find out that the, campaign is 3 hours long. It's obviously not where that data is going.
Do you think they'll expand DMZ and take advantage of the Tarkov players that aren't playing Tarkov anymore?
Well, there's no way for them to reverse course this late.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
But I bet you that there is a small group of people that when they saw all these issues, that they probably looked at it and said, is there anything that we have that can speak to the weaknesses of Tarkov when we talk about our game? If that makes sense.
Okay, for sure, yeah.
Even if it's not super overlappy, if they can say, do you like this? And they're really saying you don't like what's going on over here, then we have it here. That's only smart business, right? Like that's...
Yeah, and a lot of people like DMZ, I think.
Yeah.
I saw it pop up a lot.
What I would like to see, it'll never happen, but I would like them to say Zombies is a huge full... I'm just now saying what I want, but Zombies is a full campaign, 4-player co-op all the way through, and then Call of Duty's campaign is going to be co-op 4-player squad, even though it's not a proper squad, but squad all the way through, and the campaign is going to be 12 hours. And that's completely unrealistic because the cost would be insane, but I would love to see
what if it's like a Rainbow Six campaign where it's like tactical incursions and someone like fucking...
What if it's a mix,
slams
man?
Open the door and flashbangs and... Yeah.
Because if they try to tighten it too much, people say, well, it was in the last game. So it's like, that's why I said, what if they mix? Because it feels like that would be the easiest way. But I haven't played a COD since Xbox 360. Yeah, I just love the idea of a huge campaign that is fun, and that no Russian, that you have these conversations around the game, that little things pop up and you're like, whoa, there's this, there's that. There are rumors that Black Ops 5 campaign is an open world. Yeah, I heard that as well. I think. somebody
when
talked
I
about.
hear open world by them, I think
Yeah,
the
it
wrong
does not
ideas.
excite me at all. If I hear open world from friggin' Saints Row devs, I would have been more interested than open world from them.
True.
Hey, I'll kill. I mean, I would kill for it to be awesome. But yeah, I would love for a Call of Duty to just go nuts. And also, I'm the only one who's going to say this, but I do feel that currently most modern / past wars are pretty played out for me. I wasn't against, Infinite. I know it's not the most liked game. I actually love the campaign and the choices you could make, and it was slightly different. I don't know if anybody else would agree with me, but I'm really tired of just going back and doing the same thing all the time. Same war. Here's the thing. And people say there were different fronts. There were for sure different fronts. But for the most part, it's like an immersive sim. If a Nazi is a Nazi in front of you,
I'm done with World War II. I'm done.
There's probably he's probably going to look somewhat the same as the guy on the other front, or use somewhat the same weapons, or talk in the same language. There's no big spread of things. It's always the same, and I sort of like the idea of spreading that out. But again, I'm probably the only one. Well, no, Sailor Mercury said he loved it as well. You want amazing set pieces? I do. I want fantastic set pieces that make me want to blow them up with guns. Like, that's the thing. Destruction is a question, though. Like, true destruction. That would be
actual
cool.
True destruction, like bad company destruction. Like, everything's destructible.
That would be fun, even if the campaign wasn't as long as I said. But let's say it was a 7 or 8 hour campaign, but there was full destruction in some of the environments. Not all, but maybe some. And it can't be everything. But yeah, that would be. Yeah,
because usually Call of Duty is way more static with their
very static. Yeah, they love their. And you have, like, when you play them, you just know where the enemies will be because you can look at the map as you're playing it and go, it goes to the right, I'm sure. And then there's probably going to be a guy above me as I go through the door, a guy to the right, 2 guys behind this thing, blah, blah, blah.
I loved, Battlefield 4 had maps that kept changing, one that flooded midway through, and another one where you could blow a whole building down. I don't know.
Roy says, like, Red Faction. What do you guys want from a Call of Duty, man? I want to hear about it. What do you guys want? Red Faction would be hilarious. I thought Red Faction's destructibility was cool, but it quickly turned into sort of anarchy because it was an old system. I think now they're at the point where you could probably do some pretty crazy stuff. I apologize if you can hear the chainsaw behind me, but somebody's sawing. Can you hear that?
Yeah,
I apologize.
It's all good. It's not too loud.
Even just having electronics and windows be smashable.
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
Like
what else we got for stuff?
Did a good job with that.
Oh, Control. Dude, can you imagine a gunny? What if... I'm trying to think of how they would do it in a building like that and have it be a long game. But yeah, I like the destruction control, I guess, as well.
Yeah.
I guess that's all I have to say. I like control. I guess it doesn't overlap at all. Let's see. What else do we got here for news? Dude, does that chainsaw go in when I don't even talk? It's loud. He's right outside my house. Can you hear that?
I hear a little bit. No, it came and it comes and goes.
Dude, I don't know what's going on, man. Hopefully they're not sawing the wrong tree and they're sawing one of ours. We're sawing down the power. Oh, and I did get to check out Watch Dogs VR. Eurogamer was doing it as well. Watch Dogs in VR was pretty sweet. I was messing around with VR recently.
A mod?
Yeah.
Okay. Modders are really keeping...
Modders are taking it on, man. They're like, hey, we got an idea. Let's just implement it and see what happens. Of course, they don't care if the game breaks or if your saves don't work anymore. They don't have a certification to go through. You always hear that shit. Well, I can't blah, 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 do blah, blah, blah. And you're like, because...
It's not as easy.
You can't just magically be like, we'll just change everything and see what happens. Stellar Blades reported as selling out in Japan. That's cool, man. Stellar Blade seems to have sort of grabbed on to people's cojones. And last but not least... No, here we go. EA plans to release 2 games. I want to see what these are. So we know that Dreadwolf is one of them. Oh, this is just it's not even a real thing. It's a leaker fucking saying stuff. I apologize. We'll wait until the apology tours are over before we figure out if that's even real. I hate that shit. I should have read that. Looking up at new news, there isn't much, man. The big news was those things that happened with Sony and Xbox, and there just hasn't been a ton this week. It's actually been quite a weirdly just relaxing week.
Yeah, aside from all the negativity. Honestly,
yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. Beside the other stuff, I'm saying.
I finally got RimWorld, man, after years and years and years of it eyeing me on Steam. I finally went ahead and got it.
I will try to jump into RimWorld at some time, but it just hasn't been a thing for me. It looks bad. It just doesn't look like a game graphically that appeals to me.
It looks better than Dwarf Fortress, and that's
well, that looks really bad. That's not saying much, man.
Yeah.
Helldivers 2 community manager got fired. Oh yeah, I think. Oh yeah, dude, we got Discords to read and super chats. But yeah, I did read that. Scotty Surf Shop says, "What game has the best flamethrower?" Some examples could be Call of Duty World at War. That's actually mine because I love Call of Duty World at War. Call of Duty World at War. What other ones have flamethrowers in them?
Okay, Fallout 3.
Wolfenstein.
Yeah, or I guess all Fallouts. I don't know. I remember in Fallout 3 because the flamethrower literally shoots fireballs. So you can't top that.
You can't top a game that doesn't even do that. Oh, Far Cry for them, just for the mechanic. World at War flamethrowers were wicked.
Make a bundum. Yeah, the Skrillex song.
I'm sure I've heard one, but I couldn't recognize any Skrillex song to save my life at all.
They sound like a bunch of electronic shit going off at the
back
same
and
time.
forth. It's probably a little too hectic for me, maybe. Knucklehead says, "Have you ever been recognized in public?" I'm assuming Carrick has. Oh, have you? He's saying everybody. Have you ever been walking around and somebody's like, "Yo, Abzy from ACG"? Like, have you ever been in downtown, wherever you live, downtown Canada, fighting off moose, and a guy's closest... like, "I'll help you, Abzy, with ACG." Is that around?
The closest was one dude who messaged me saying, "Yo, I live in the same town as you, like right down the road or whatever." So that was the closest I ever got.
That's awesome. That's wicked. I have definitely been recognized in public. It's not a ton of times, especially now with YouTube being even bigger and so many people. But at events, when you go to events, you've got gamers, so the chance. But I've definitely been at a store and somebody's like, "Do you do a YouTube channel?" And then ex-girlfriend's parents watch us because they're about 10. Well, they're about 20 years older than us. Because they had her pretty young, and they're still gamers. Mm-hmm. And one of them was like, "Oh my God, is that so and so?" And they ended up listening to the podcast, which was pretty cool. Until I'm sure they heard me randomly talking about certain things, and they were like, "Is he talking about our daughter? We're gonna come after him." I don't think they did that. It's happened
in the online spaces a lot, though, where like in a random community or Discord that I'm in, someone would tag me and be like, "Oh, you're from the ACG Discord. What's up?"
Like, we fucking hate that guy.
Like a lot of the people, a lot of the people who watch, what's his name? The guy that made God of War. I forgot his name. He talks a lot. He tweets a lot and stuff. Wait, am I going crazy? What's his name? I know his name. Not Joffrey. The guy who made God of War, like the original creator of God of War. What's his name, chat? But a lot of people watch him.
I have no clue.
Watch this podcast.
Jay says David Jaffe.
David Jaffe, yes.
You mean there's overlap in communities?
There's some overlap there, yeah. I think so.
Weird.
I think so. Yeah.
I can never tell why there'd be overlap because, dude, I've gone on like fashion channels and said, "Hey, good job on this YouTube video or whatever," and people be like, "I've been watching this fashion channel and I love your beard." They don't say that, but yeah, worlds do collide online.
Yeah,
for sure. Travis says ex-girlfriend's parents, man, they will never watch your videos again. Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, no, they knew who I was. They knew what I was like. Vig Villain says Ghost of Tsushima launches on PC soon, and Sucker Punch has stated a PSN account is optional for single player, but required for the online Legends mode. Do you think Ghost of Tsushima will be barred from sale in the regions without PSN?
Oh, that's a fucking good question.
That is what we hit on earlier, and we started to talk about Ghost, and then we moved off. That's my question as well.
I don't know. That is my question as well.
I think that one of the biggest problems with what happened with Helldivers was after the game was sold. If you're saying now, and you're saying it's required, and it's not will be future required, I personally believe it will still be sold there.
I think at the very least it should be cheaper for those people though that won't have a big part of the game to play. You know?
Yep, absolutely agree. Yeah, it's a super good question because personally, see, I don't want them to not be able to play it. I would like to just say can't be sold. But then if somebody is there,
there's the whole
they're
single
okay with
player,
it.
which is the main part of the game, which they won't have access to. Yeah, do you think it's definitely going to hurt their sales a little bit on PC, right? This whole controversy. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there'll be, I mean, I've already seen it where some people are like, I'm not going to mess with it because I don't trust them to not, you know, blah, 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 or something. So
For sure.
Yeah. It is a good question. I appreciate you circling us back to it because I do believe that, I mean, we all know this, but these online games, they want to push forward and be online or service stuff. The online mode that they had, though, wasn't like that. It's not a negative, that it's a good DLC. It's got the Legends mode, all that kind of stuff. I think it was really fun, and it's not, to not be harmed would be the best bet. But I do think slightly less. If there's an entire see, I don't know, though, because you're already getting... Yeah.
You got it for free. We did get it for free as well. The multiplayer update was free.
Yeah.
Right?
Man, I don't know how you come out of that. Yeah, it's going to be an issue forever, though. It's going to be an issue because I will tell you this. Ignoring Sony, let's say Sony went out of business tomorrow, I can guarantee you that it's going to pop up with any other game because Microsoft and Nintendo are also lacking in some regions. And so, but again, it was there. I don't think people realize the status quo was sort of understood by most, blah, blah, blah. What they did was they instigated it after. And that's
the big point.
And it would close the entire online-only game. See, I think that's the other thing. That, like you said, it's not an online-only game. That one's online-only. And so, you know, more of a hate there for what they did, and rightfully so. Yeah, that's a good question. Also, I was going to say, have you ever been recognized in public is also different because I was thinking how often I really go out into public, like where I would be recognized at a store. I mean, that'd be weird if you were like walking through Fred Meyer getting Uncrustables and somebody was like, "Yo, ACG." That would be odd. Wonder what it's like to be that popular. I don't think it'd be fun because if I was trying to buy,
maybe in the beginning.
It'd
be like, oh my god, this person, you know, I feel so, you know. And how is it possible to be that famous and not get your ego just fucking blown out of the
destroyed because you know people don't like your movie or whatever, and they're like, I hate you, and you're like, dude, I'm an actor, man. You play like an evil character in a World War II.
King Joffrey.
King Joffrey. That guy
Micah's voice actor.
Micah's. Can you imagine? You're fine, but then you know you randomly say, "Hey, thank you for doing my bags at the grocery store," and somebody's like, Micah, you're all
fuck
what?
You,
and they're like, fuck you. They're leaping over the counter to get to you. Fuck you, man. You ruined everything.
Oh man, remember like the girl who played Abby getting death threats and shit, man? That shit's insane, dude. Abby? She wasn't even responsible for the character from The Last of Us.
Oh, dude,
voice actress.
I thought you meant
who also plays so many other. Oh yeah. Who also plays so many other characters.
So weird. It's so weird to think, like, in a weird way, for a lot of influencers, I think. They somewhat, not all, but they try to be sort of themselves. Most acting is distinctly on purpose, not you. Most of the time. That's the entire situation. So
that's
the idea,
point.
What are you going to do? Walk up to Tom Cruise and be like, you played a vampire Lestat. Fuck you. And you're like, what? That's just as weird as somebody being mad at, what do you say, Abby? The Abby actress. Like, that doesn't make any fucking sense at all, man. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's so dumb.
And Laura Bailey, like she voices so many people, you know.
Laura Bailey's in everything. Yeah, she's the Troy Baker of Laura Bailey's, and you're just like, or the Laura Bailey of Troy Baker's would be more accurate. But dude, it's so weird. It's so weird. I mean, but on the other hand, here's the opposite side of that. Somebody will say, well, if I tell this person that their voice acting and their storyline really helped me or really elevated my attitude at one point, are we saying it's not okay to say your voice acting made me feel bad and is bad and made my day actively worse?
But
Can,
is it the responsibility of the acting or
neither
or
are. What I'm saying is, if a person can get the positive,
yeah.
are we stating that they can't get the negative?
No. They can, right?
No, they can. I think they can,
Wait,
but I
no.
think it
Oh, if
sucks
they
as a
get like the
person.
positive, like, oh, you did
If we're
so well acting this. Yeah, if they botched the acting, if they were a terrible character, if they were actually
no.
terrible at
That's not what I'm
voicing the
saying.
character.
What I'm saying is, if we say as a world, we're like, hey, it's okay to tell this person they did an amazing job, blah blah blah. Are we able to arbitrarily then stop a person like at the line and say, can you please tell us what you're going to say? Yeah, I'm going to say, fucking, I hated Laura Bailey's voice in this. You can't go in. Only the good people can talk. I'm just saying it's weird to me that I don't want people to have a bad day, but I see people approach voice actors all the time and say, hey, you really nailed it on this. And you it, like I felt with the character and I was emoting with the characters, and you made me feel great in a bad time.
So you should be able to be like, hey,
I don't think you should. I'm saying like it's shit. A weird dichotomy, though. It's a weird dichotomy because you talked about Abby. Abby's a hated character for a lot of people for whatever reason. Sure. Many characters are. Joel. Let's go to Joel and just look at Joel. Some people love Joel and they're excited about Joel. I think Joel's a well-acted character. But he's a piece of shit. He's human trash. That guy is a piece of dog shit. So I like him as a piece of dog shit. And I think he did a great, you know me, I'm not a huge fan of, some of those, how much some voice actors work or what they do to change the voice. Yeah. That did well. So, but imagine I'm in line to say, hey, man, you did a great job on this. Dude, you made a piece of shit fun and enjoyable. And
I would love, dude,
but then
that's
the guy behind me is like just in a boxer stance, and he's like, I'm gonna jack this guy up with my words.
Like if I met Micah's voice actor, I'd be like, oh, you did such a good job at making me hate you so much, like awesome.
Exactly. But what if you just hated them? I'm just like, I don't know. I was just the reason why I was thinking about it is because we arbitrarily
that means they did their
tried
job, right? If people hate them, that means they did their job well, in a way.
I believe that, but I can't see and decide somebody's head, and they may think they did a terrible job and they ruined it because of their bad voice acting. And should that person be allowed to do the same? I'm just thinking.
Just don't be a piece of shit, I guess, is like the
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. If you hear that, don't say anything bad, or don't say anything if you don't have anything good to say or whatever. And I'm like, I mean, sometimes, but no, I do get it. I do understand the thought process of not wanting somebody to just, like I'm thinking signings. What do you call them? When you go to a fan com,
like autographs,
or whatever, and autographs. And I'm thinking it must be like to, let's say, be a bad guy in a show who's deplorable.
Okay.
Like a German,
like a pedophile
warrior who did terror, or a pedophile in a show. How does that play out? Because I don't even know how it plays out. Now, it'd be weird for us to celebrate. That guy played a pedophile really well. That would be an odd thing to say in any situation, even if you believed it. But I can tell you I've found creepy characters acted well. Very well. Yeah. And so So do you go and you watch? I'm trying to think. People celebrated I'll eat her liver with some fava beans. What's his name? Anthony Hopkins for playing.
And the other guy.
And he was. Yeah, they're deplorable people. People celebrate, but I don't think he's sitting down for autographs at a Comic-Con either. But I was just thinking what it must be like if you're a piece of shit character in the entire show. Just a I'm talking like almost like a. Like Anthony Hopkins. I wonder what it's like to go to a Comic-Con or to go to some kind of signing, what people act like, because I've never tracked that. It would be fun to have somebody on who's an actor who's a really bad guy. And by the way, Dan Owen's actually talking about what I'm talking about. The German guy in Inglourious Bastards is exactly what I'm talking about currently. In my brain, I couldn't remember what the name of the movie was, but Inglourious Bastards.
Christoph Waltz?
Yes.
I love that guy.
So...
I love him.
So do I. But what if you didn't? Is what I'm saying. What do you do? Do you just say, "Hey, we can let this guy through"? I don't know. It's just an.
And there's probably a
process.
difference between like the anti-hero who's like a piece of shit and a good guy can also be like a really hateable character. Like
and Oregon Fresh mentioned what you did. Joffrey from Game of Thrones. He was,
Yeah.
it was just nuts. He was like, instead of saying, dude, you make bad good, which is what he did, and which is what people should have said. You made bad good. You made bad incredible. You made, you fucking took writing that could have been boring or blasé or just been the maniacal bad guy, and you fucking nailed it. But instead, people were the typical shitbags that they are.
What is a better compliment? Oh, you did such a good job being a bad guy, or I fucking hate you. Maybe I don't
know. I don't know because I feel, bro, this is a conversation that's so. This is so weird because that's what I'm talking about. Is like, because you just said earlier too. You said, well, if I hated them, they must be good. And I'm like, I don't know if that's always. That is a part of one way you could go, and then you could also just be like, I think you did a terrible job, and you were getting there. But I interrupt. You were getting there with what if they did a bad job? But yeah, I don't know. Dude, that'd be really interesting to ask an actor. Like, how do you handle, I hate you, but you understand what they're really saying is your character was good. They just don't have the means to turn it into a non-personal thing. I'm assuming they probably just hate it. That would be my personal opinion. It doesn't matter. They would be like I hate this. They wouldn't
like people saying but maybe deep inside they're like, well, that means I did a really, really good job of that character.
Let's take this to the next level. Almost every wrestler in the world who's a heel will tell you they love it when people are throwing shit at them and fucking hate them, because that means they're over as the bad guy. And yet, what is a wrestler but a very athletic fucking actor? Yeah. And I was, dude, when one wrestling match I went to, I was probably 15 at the time. Boy, was I mean. Man. Yeah. I was teasing their body. Like, I mean, and you know me, like when I'm mad, it's like, dude, just don't talk to him because whatever he says will be really angry. And I was talking to this heel, and finally in the middle of the match, he just turned around and said, fuck you. And I actually stopped. I was like, oh, I am getting to him. But that, like, those guys, you'll hear them talk about it in interviews. Especially the old heels would hide. They would get their cars smashed. We never would want that. That's ridiculous. You're just being a dickhead because you should know. Vandalism. But they were saying, I knew when people they really wanted to attack me physically. That's how I knew it was good. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, that's a step. That's a step past.
Plus, it's like more closer to a reality TV show than like a movie.
True. Are you getting to the reality TV show guy? Real quick, people are talking about Homelander. Yeah, Homelander creeps me out. Drinking breast milk is just, that's on my list of no-nos. What we saying?
Reality TV shows they must have it the worst, because a lot of reality TV show has some acting in it, and sometimes like it's been reported that they do these things.
You're like exploding 5 a.m.,
they wake them up and they make them drink, or like they do so that must be the worst, because it's like, it's in reality you're a piece of shit, but we don't actually know if you were acting or not, so you might just be a piece of shit. That must be the worst.
It's so funny, and people are saying that a lot of, like I was saying, a lot of wrestlers love being heels. It's fun, and that it supposedly might be easier. I think being a heel might be harder in the long run, might be easier in the short run, because you can do despicable things. But people are so accustomed to heels now, I think you probably have to adjust it. But I just love the idea of being like, I want to be hated so much that people just absolutely want to kill me, and that means it's good.
Yeah. You must have like some iron steel ego or something. Or
well, you were saying the guy who fucked people's prescriptions up. What's his name? Martin.
Oh yeah, Martin Shkreli.
That guy obviously sociopath, obviously, but there's no whatever, and he's just like, that guy's obviously got people tied up in a basement.
For sure.
He's next level, but there are other people out there that shit doesn't hit them, and it's funny I would love to ask one and be how far is too far. But I do remember in the old days with wrestling, they would talk about their cars. They would come out, or the big one was they would have people drop them off, because people learned really quickly some cities you never left your car, because it was not going to look like it did when you drove it in. Somebody was going to smash that thing or what have you. Just walking to the wrestling ring must have been tough. Or not wrestling ring, but into the entrance of the Coliseum. If you're the bad guy, because the moment you walk in, people are just going to be like, fuck you. They're just hating you and all that kind of stuff. I love the idea.
You're just going to have to walk through it all, man.
Yeah. I do think, though, that when you, going back to voice actors, when you look at voice actors, I think that those guys, because they're more of the thespian style and it doesn't involve that physical, they certainly want to remove themselves even more so. Yeah, it is just the voice acting. Which also brings me to the fact that, so people are bringing up Splinter Cell and supposedly, getting a remake or what have you.
Yeah.
We talked about this earlier with the mocap, the idea that mocap is not really attached to a person's body anymore. You can just do the face. So I don't know about you. I want Michael Ironside back if they do one. I really want to see a Michael Ironside back. I don't care about I know they pretended, they were like, oh, we can't do a Splinter Cell with him because he's too old to make the moves. I think we've now seen that shit's... Yeah, you can do that kind of stuff, and I would just die to see a new... Imagine... out of the blue, you're watching the trailer or you're watching whatever, it's just black, and then you just hear that
out of the water to his daughter on the boat, and
little like, green eyes voice. And come up, and they're like a full, and they just announce a full, not open world, hub base would be fine, but a full like real Splinter Cell. Everything is there that we've
please don't make it open world, just
accomplished in the past. Yeah. Let's see. It puts the lotion on skin. Yeah, but the final boss... Oh, these guys are talking about The Rock. Oh, yeah. Oh, The Rock being rusty because he hasn't been on for a while. AI, how do you become a YouTube member? Hit the YouTube member button. It should be down there somewhere. Dog, leave it alone. You can't come in. That way I can join the Discord. Yes, you can. Liam says a new Ghost Recon game would be great. Yeah, I think a new Ghost Recon game is something that could help Ubisoft sort of get this focus off of Far Cry and off of Assassin's Creed and be like, here and Beyond Good and Evil 2, and just here's our new thing for a while, especially when we look at Watch Dogs being sort of shuttered, at least for now, when it comes to an IP.
I hope they do utilize the Watch Dogs Legions aspect in some of their games, at least. I want to see it utilized in other ways, man. You can do so much with it.
I'm so bothered by the fact that WB is going to have it in their Amazonian, what's her name, Wonder Woman. They did state in their little information that is for sure happening, but the Nemesis style system is theirs, and so to see Legion possibly, I know it wasn't perfect, but to see Legion, and Watch Dogs going away and that possibly missing, I would love to see it in a Far Cry. Because you're always seeing real people in Far Cry games walking around doing their shit, especially 5. You saw people sort of trying to live a life. They were traders, what have you. But it would be cool to say, where's this guy going next? This trader's on his way to this, or,
build up like a whole revolution, like some freedom fighters thing. Yeah.
Let's see, what else do we got here? We'll wrap up the Discord questions. We'll wrap up this, and then we will get out of here. People are talking about random stuff in the Discord, making sure nobody's asked any new questions. They have not. Oh, God. Lucitan's in the Discord complaining about something.
Uh-oh.
Oh, it's just talking about the Microsoft stuff. And going into here, do we have any Rock? Everybody's really... I have a feeling there's a lot of wrestling fans who watch us. For some reason, really? Because whenever we mention wrestling, it seems like
on the Discord playing the game. Like I haven't heard of anyone playing a wrestling game.
It's been insane. Even yesterday there were a bunch of people playing it. It's been really crazy. Lucitan says, "What the hell?" I'm not complaining. I think you were, Lucitan. Okay, I'll take it back if you weren't. Here we go. I'm going to read your thing. Failed. Oh my God. Is the first thing I read. So if that's not complaining about something, I don't know what is. I apologize, but that's the first thing I saw was failed. OMG.
Yeah.
I can never tell with Lucitan. Lucitan probably likes everything, and he just comes across as if he hates everything.
He's negative about everything, but he also plays games he dislikes, so maybe it's all positive.
Oh, he's saying it did fail. He said, my gotcha failed. Okay, buddy.
Oh, okay.
All right, I take it back. Take it back. I thought it was funny though. I thought you were in there freaking out about something. I apologize. Because you do a lot. Let's be honest. I love you for it though. One of the reasons why I love you. That'll be it for us.
He's the only guy. Oh. Sorry, no, I was just gonna say he's the only guy I can tease and just like be super mean to, but I know that he can take it and be mean back and shit.
I'm not super mean to him, but I can tell you that he cracks me up when I watch him. He will be playing a game, and he plays games in a way that I just wish he was a tester for games. because his way of playing games is unlike anything. We all stopped. He was in there doing Dragon's Dogma. There's probably 12 people, and he was playing Dragon's Dogma, and I'm telling you straight up, don't get a big head, Lewiston. Straight up, though, people paused their game to watch him play because his way of playing was so opposite what anybody would have done. And it wasn't just homicidal. It was the way he went about it. Halfway through a mission, his friggin' like patience level would just crater. After he took time to do the mission, he'd just be like, oh, whatever. And it was so interesting. I think he would be one of the best gameplay testers in the world, at least for identifying how long a quest should be in something. But anyway, that'll be it for us. I absolutely appreciate all you guys showing up. If you get a chance, become a YouTube member. If you're having difficulties when you become a YouTube member figuring out how to join Discord, it should be right there. But Google the first response, even the AI responses, will be able to quickly and easily get you into the Discord. It may take a little bit of time as those systems modify. Baron, you're fine. Quit panicking. And that'll be it for us. You'll see us back on Friday. You get a chance, please, right now, open up the YouTube channel. Look at this video as it's posted and leave a comment. It absolutely helps the channel hugely. And the YouTube algorithm is devastating a lot of channels. This is not some hyperbole. In fact, it started in February, and I haven't said anything until the last 3 podcasts because I was tracking if it was real or not. It was very much real. So I appreciate it. Peace out, everybody. Have an awesome week.